smokes.
Wow.
The wall was approaching. Mangum made the grab.
Kind of our only shot in that game. We didn't do a whole lot outside of that. Prieto took a good swing. Would have been a pretty neat at bat if that goes a little further, but unfortunately it ends the inning there. But yeah, that was kind of our only shot in that whole game.
That felt very reminiscent of Cardinals of old.
Yeah.
They had one real opportunity to come through. They did not come through on a hit, a batted ball that in 10 other parks would have been a home run for Cesar Prieto.
If the camera would have just stayed on Prieto the whole time, I thought it was a home run. But the moment that the ball went, or the camera shot went to right field, I was like, oh, I don't think that's going out.
And instead, it drops short, goes out to the warning track. Really weird tracking by that outfielder, by the way. Don't think that should have been as difficult of a catch as it was, but neither here nor there. That audio courtesy of Pirates TV alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. So the Cardinals had one opportunity to come back. They fell short. They end up not scoring yesterday against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Alex, this is the kind of game that you watch and you're like, oh, yeah, there was really nothing there. Yeah. They just had nothing. They didn't get a whole lot going offensively. McGreevy did not have his best stuff yesterday. It was that one opportunity, sixth inning. I think they were down 3-0 at the time that the inning began. It was bases loaded, one out. Mason Wynn comes up. He strikes out. Prieto comes up. He flies out to the outfield. Bada boom, bada bing, game over. No chance to come back after that because Matt Svanson peed down his leg.
And legitimately peed down his leg. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be critical about a game like that because it doesn't happen very often. And I have celebrated the clutchability of this Cardinals team this season. Every time they've stepped up with a situation where they need to come through, they come through. It's just in this one, they were unable to. And really, I think Prieto had a great swing on it. Really, you're just talking about Mason Wynn in that scenario. And Mason Wynn coming back after being injured from the last couple of games. So the runners in scoring position is what you look at when you go 0 for 5. But in all reality, you couldn't get runners in scoring position other than that bases loaded scenario in the 6th, 7th inning. They had one earlier in the game where they had runners on first and second with one out, and they didn't get anything done there. But those are going to happen. And the best part about this Cardinals team this season is when they have games like this, they respond the next time coming through and going 500 with runners in scoring position. So really, you always seem to go to the next game to find out if there's a trend. And the trend of the Cardinals this season is after a game like last night where they can't come up with any clutch hits, they seem to come through in big moments and win the series.
What's interesting about it is when you look at their numbers on the season, they're not good with runners in scoring position. Yet I haven't really felt it except for maybe a couple of games. And one of them was last night because, you mentioned it. Wynn comes up. And hard to blame Prieto. As you mentioned, it's a home run in 10 ballparks. It just happens to be he plays here at one of the least hitter-friendly ballparks in the league. But Wynn gets ahead 3-0. And then he can't come through. You've got to find a way to get on base or at least put the ball in play in that scenario, especially when you're in a hitter's count. And instead he doesn't do his job. But what's interesting about it, like I said, they are tied for 23rd in batting average with runners in scoring position, 24th in on-base percentage this year, and 23rd in slugging percentage this year. This would be about the time of the year when Alex would be telling me they're not a good baseball team because they're not hitting with runners in scoring position. Yet we're not talking about that because it really hasn't seemed to be something that has come back to haunt them very much so far this year.
And I think in part, the reason you don't feel that is because in high leverage situations, they're very good. Now,
and in extra innings, they're very good.
Exactly. So those extra innings would be high leverage situations.
Yeah.
High leverage is like games about to be put on notice, right? Like what last night happened. That was a high leverage spot. Bases loaded, one out. What do you do here? That is quite different than a situation where it's a runner on second, 2 out, first inning. That feels different than what we saw last night. And typically that happens, what you saw last night, and they come through. It's a bases clearing double. It's a home run, whatever it may be. On the season, the Cardinals in high leverage situations are batting .265 as a team with an on-base percentage of .350. That's absurd. To come through in those spots like that, that's why it's the Pozo thing, right? The Cardinals basically become Joel Pozo when it's a high leverage moment. And I look back at Pozo's numbers from last year, and I'm like, That can't possibly be correct.
He's not good.
There's no way he was that bad overall, but he was. He was awful as a hitter for the most part. But in my mind, it is etched in my memory how he made me feel. And when he came up to the plate, he made me feel good because I felt like every high leverage moment, he's coming through in those big spots. He just did it over the weekend where he walks it off because he comes through in a big spot. That's not how it always goes, just how it's not how it always goes for the Cardinals with runners in scoring position. But as you know, I like to say, Alex, when the brights are the lightest,
that's true.
The Cardinals are clutch. And yesterday, they just couldn't come through in a clutch moment. Typically, they do.
Yeah. And again, it's why I don't care about a game like that until you see about 3 or 4 of games like that. Until you see, and really, that's not even your big hitters that came up into that moment. We talked a couple of days ago of that game that they won in extras of their big hitters coming through for them. Ivan Herrera, J.J. Weatherholt, Alec Burleson. Those are the guys that you trust in those situations. You thought that the magic was just going to continue last night, and it didn't. But until I see it happen 3, 4, 5 games, and until I see it happen with Herrera and Burleson and Walker, maybe Pozo, at the plate in those high leverage situations, that's when you start to get a little worried. But when it's Mason Wynn, who has really not had that moment yet this season in that high leverage spot, I'm not going to be as concerned about it until I see more of the same.
By the way, there was a false report which came out earlier today that Brian Torres was going to get the call up to the big league level. It has since been debunked. I do think this is interesting, though. Redbird Farmhands just tweeted out the lineup for the Memphis Redbirds today. Guess who was not in it for the second consecutive day?
Blaze Jordan.
Brian Torres.
Oh,
Blaze Jordan is
saw.
playing first and batting third in this lineup. Lars Nootbaar, by the way, is in left field today for the Memphis Redbirds. He's batting second in this lineup. Baez is leading off. It's actually a really fun lineup. Baez, Newt, Jordan, Leo Bernal behind the plate today playing catcher.
Man, put Jimmy Crooks there, you'd just be looking at a future Cardinals lineup.
Pretty interesting lineup for the Memphis Redbirds
call
today.
all
At least
4
one
of them
through
up.
4. The fact that Brian Torres is not in the lineup, though, today is interesting to me and maybe noteworthy. Maybe he's not going to be called up before the game today, and maybe he's meeting the team in Cincinnati tomorrow. Now, I don't know that to be true. This is pure speculation by me. The Cardinals shut this thing down real quick today, making it known we are not calling up Brian Torres for today's game. And that very well may be true, but the semantics of it, of he's not getting called up today, might be relevant for the fact that he's not been in a game over the last couple of days in the Memphis Redbirds lineup. That feels relevant to me.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. So JC got another pinch hit opportunity last night and didn't come through. So,
Yeah, did he strike out in 3 straight pitches?
like the more and more you're seeing him, the more and more it's like we're going to have to do something else.
He's not a major league player right now.
No.
What did you guys make of Michael McGreevy's start last night?
A little surprised, but not concerned, if that makes sense. It's kind of like the same of Matthew Liberatore, to where it was like everything, I don't know, everything looked okay. It's just, it was one of those moments that you haven't seen happen to Michael McGreevy yet this season, and you were thinking, it's like, oh, okay, what's going on here? But, I mean, 5 innings for him, which just is unnatural, and 10 hits on him. I don't know. The strikeout stuff, I guess, is the part that you're a little surprised by, because you thought that was trending in the right direction, and it just didn't seem to be.
I watched him start and went, regression is coming. Regression is coming.
I think we all knew regression was happening.
But I think this is what's going to be with McGreevy. I think he can go through a stretch where he looks like your ace, which he had been. And I'm not overly concerned. I agree with you there. He's going to have some outings like this. He just pitches to too much contact. Like 1 strikeout, not shocked at all. That's just kind of who he is. And when you're going up against a lineup like the Pirates and they load it up with lefties, and you look at most of their regulars, they've got like 6 guys above league average offensively. Yeah, I expected him to kind of potentially run into a start like this against this kind of a lineup, because you look at a lot of his starts, a lot of times, like those hard hit balls going up the middle end up finding like Mason Wynn. You know, it gets pulled just enough to where Wynn can get to it and it becomes an out. When you pitch to this much contact and have to live on BABIP, you're going to have starts like this, and it's going to start to bring his numbers more back to like the 3.5 ERA to 4 ERA range.
That's what I thought too. I mean, we heard about this from Ollie Marmol the other day when he was in studio with us. He got very fortunate in his most recent start where Ollie pulled him after 74 pitches that some of the really hard hit balls did not become hits. And when you're living on the edge that way, when it's working, it's a hell of a lot of fun. You're like, man, these teams can't hit against him. And it's true until it's not. And you look at some of the underlying stuff for Michael McGreevy. I know people hate hearing about this. And the reason that I bring it up is because, like we talked about this with Sonny Gray the other day. Eventually, it will become about performance and what did you do. But if we're still projecting forward, the better predictor of future success is the underlying numbers. If we're just evaluating what he's been, well, the Cardinals have banked those wins with Michael McGreevy on the mound. He's been great for them so far this year. This is not an evaluation of what he has been. It is a projection of what he's going to be the rest of the season, barring something changing. And his under-the-hood numbers would suggest, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to sustain that level of success unless you change something in a meaningful way. I don't think there's a whole lot to change here. I think this is who Michael McGreevy is. Maybe he becomes a slightly better version of himself. He's still only 25. You could do some things to tinker with your arsenal. But McGreevy's a nice middle-of-the-rotation starter. He's really solid. He can play up if he's getting the good defense behind him and he's getting some good batted ball luck. And he can look like he did yesterday if those things are not happening and the other team is able to put some good swings against him. So, yeah, I didn't think it was particularly surprising that he had a 5-inning start and he gave up 10 hits and he only had 1 strikeout. I think this is something you're going to live with Michael McGreevy in your rotation. The nice thing with him, I don't think you're ever going to see it be 2 innings or 3 innings the way that it was at times with Eric Fetty, where he just completely implodes and he's got nothing that day. McGreevy's the kind of guy that will get you through 5. Even on his bad days, he's going to be able to wear it, and he's mostly going to be able to limit damage against him in a way that Fetty and Michaelis did not. Because yesterday, like, hey, man, he gave you a chance to win. It was not a good start by him, and yet he got through 5 and gave up 3 earned. You can live with that. That's a really solid start from a number 5 starter, and that's why I think a lot of Cardinals fans will love him at the end of the year still. It's because even in his bad starts, he gives you a chance.
Yeah, and to your point on even though it might be hard contact, he does a good job of limiting the damage. He gave up 10 hits. Only 2 of them were extra base hits because he's able to keep it, for the most part, on the ground or at least limit kind of that attack angle that comes from the hitters. And that's where it reminds me a little bit of, like, yeah, Wainwright, Michaelis when he was good in his career. Okay, sure, maybe doesn't have the best stuff, but he's not going to give up a ton of runs in this outing and at least give you a fighting chance.
That's a huge piece of this. That limiting that slug, even if you've got a high batting average, if you can limit the slug and you don't give up walks because he's got great command, you can work with that. That's something in Major League Baseball that you can have some success with. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we've got competing reports now on one young defenseman in the NHL and whether or not he's actually going to be available this offseason. We'll talk about who that is and whether or not he would be interesting for the Blues to trade for in 15 minutes. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. You can check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. I've seen your text. We will talk about it coming up next. Is Matt Svanson somebody that should be sent down sooner rather than later? We'll talk about his future next year on 101 ESPN.
Runner goes, and a base hit to left, and that will score not just one, maybe two. Gonzalez is waived. It's a 2-run double for Brian Reynolds, and a 7-0 lead in the 8th.
You guys know how much I dislike hearing that broadcast on our radio airwaves, so
let's play it again, T-Bone.
With Matt Svanson and his performance yesterday. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. That was Pirates TV yesterday, talking about the Pirates going up 7-0 while Matt Svanson was in the game. Alex, this feels so similar to the Ryan Fernandez situation a year ago. Mm-hmm. Fernandez, 2 years ago, was really good for the Cardinals. He was that Rule 5 pick. He comes in and was immediately thrown into a high leverage role with the Cardinals. Had an interesting arsenal where he's got that slider that works off of his fastball. And he's just super effective from start to finish that season. They needed Ryan Fernandez to pitch the way that he did. And then the next year he comes in and it's like, well, this ain't the guy that we saw a year ago. So much so that they had to send him down. They got to late April, and at the time, he was optioned after 11 appearances with an 11.4 ERA and a whip above 2. More than 2 walks and hits per inning that he was in the game. Fast forward to Matt Svanson, who last year, T-Bone knows, he was one of the best pitchers in the Cardinals bullpen. T-Bone, I think, predicted him to be the best reliever in the Cardinals bullpen this season.
He predicted it.
And in 22 innings this season, Svanson has a 9.6 ERA and once again,
best T-Bone.
A whip, walks, hits per inning pitched above 2. It's completely unsustainable. He doesn't get any chase. He doesn't get any swing and miss. That's always been a part of his profile. But now people aren't uncomfortable batting against Matt Svanson. They're hitting the ball hard. Nothing about this says he's getting unlucky. No, he's just been bad this season. And so I understand all of the calls to send him down today. I'm a little surprised that he hasn't been, to be totally honest with you. Maybe this is another thing where they're kind of waiting until the off day and tomorrow, or not the off day, the travel day for tomorrow, start of a new series, and they're able to make those roster moves heading into Cincinnati, and they'll have somebody meet him up there. Whether that's Chris Roycroft or probably Ryan Fernandez, who has actually been pitching pretty well down in AAA, I think we are now approaching the time where the Cardinals will send Svanson back down and allow him to get right on in a lower pressure situation while he's down in AAA.
Yeah, I mean, that was the game that you look at and you say, we can't go to him anymore. And I mean, I know he had a few clean innings prior to last night, but even prior to that, he was giving up at least a run every time. He just isn't that lethal with the strikeout stuff like he was last year. It's like he was untouchable, unhittable last year, and now it feels like it's just everywhere he pitches, it's getting hard contact. The guys are expecting certain pitches. They read what he's doing, and he gets blown up. And as soon as something starts, that's where the yips kick in for a guy like Svanson, who's having a rough year. It's like, oh, here we go again, and that's what last night turned into. So, yeah, I mean, my always retort to this when we bring this up is, yeah, but who are you going to? But now at least you have Fernandez, because Roycroft shouldn't be an option. That guy's not pitching well either. But Fernandez is. And Fernandez looked good when he was up here. So you replace a guy that is going through the same stuff that Ryan Fernandez did, and you need Svanson to get his confidence back. And AAA is a good spot to do that for him, because you're going to need what Svanson was last year down the stretch this season. So, yeah, I would say you're probably not going to do it, because I would imagine he's not going to be used in this game today anyway. So you wait until it's done, and then you bring up Ryan Fernandez for the next series. But that seems to be the only logical move, because you can't trust Svanson right now.
And it's his fastball that's the problem.
Yeah.
His sinker has been atrocious so far this season. Last year, opposing batters hit 155 against it with no real power. This year, opposing hitters are batting 355 with a 600 slugging percentage against his sinker. They're not doing any damage against his sweeper. They're not having a whole lot of success this season against his cutter, although it's, again, better than it was a year ago. But that sinker is a huge problem for him. And he's throwing it in about 60% or, 50% of the counts. So if you throw a pitch 50% of the time and it's getting crushed when you throw it, and it's the pitch that you rely on the most in order to be effective and to get ahead of opposing hitters, and then you want to put them away with that sweeper, Well, if you never get ahead because they're crushing the ball and they're getting it to the outfield on a line drive consistently, you're never getting to the pitch that you actually want to throw. So that's the problem for him. How does he fix it? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to understand that. The Cardinals clearly thought they could do so at the major league level. They have not done so just yet. He's thrown more than 200 of those sinkers at the big league level right now, and they're all getting crushed. It is time to change something. And the one thing that you can reasonably change right now is for him to go to a different setting. Get your mind right. Get your head in the right space. Try to regain some command, some control, some consistency with that sinker. Once it starts behaving again the way that they want it to, he can come right back up. And this is not the end of Matt Svanson. Like, he could be a contributor to the Cardinals in a month, 2 months, 3 months, or certainly a year. But for right now, he is not the guy they need him to be. And I think we have now reached the point where it is time to make the move with Matt Svanson.
Well, and to what you said about that sinker, this isn't like a hitter where it is like Walker. We'd have the conversations of, hey, he can't hit that slider low and away or he can't lay off of it. And the answer the Cardinals would give you is, yeah, but, it's hard to control that when you send him down to the minors. It's a lot easier to control that for a pitcher when you send him down to the minors because Svanson can go down there and really work on that sinker both in the bullpen and in games. And if Memphis loses that game, no offense to the Redbirds, doesn't matter as much as it does here at the big league level. So it is the perfect scenario to try and send him down there to work on that pitch because you're right. That's the one that's causing the most problems because the sweeper's good. Now, that's the only thing that you can look at on the underlying side and say that this is good because if this was one thing where it was, hey, high batting average, high ERA, but the expected numbers are there for him, I could understand how you would be saying, hey, no, we're going to give this time. We think that this is eventually going to start to go in his way. You can't do that at all for Svanson's profile. If you go to Baseball Savant, he has the worst expected ERA, worst expected batting average, worst hard hit percentage, in the second percentile of chase percentage, and second percentile in average exit velo. There's nothing to point at as okay, this is going well. It is time to make a change, and I am with you guys. I would call up Fernandez. He at least looked a little more interesting and looked a little better in the small sample size that we saw of him, and he's having some success down at AAA, and it doesn't cost you a 40-man move, which we know is very valuable. So I think it's time to make that switch in the bullpen.
Now, people who are much smarter than me could look at the numbers and probably be able to tell you this better. But just based upon looking at some of this stuff, arm angle has changed a bit this year from last. And the overall movement of the sinker has changed a bit this year compared to last. So it could be as simple as where the release now is and the way that the ball is now moving on that sinker is just not as effective as it was a year ago. And maybe they can get him back to what he was last year down at the AAA level where it's easier to work on things and you're not falling back into some of those same movement patterns because you get into situations where you're like, oh, bleep, I better bear down right now because I've got a runner on first and second, nobody out. I've got to get this dude right now. At AAA, there's just less pressure. You're able to alleviate some of those concerns, and maybe you can get back to the pitcher that we saw last year, which was super useful for the Cardinals and an important piece to what they ultimately built in that bullpen. All right, speaking of the pen, I have seen this all over social media. I know a lot of Cardinals fans got excited yesterday when they saw, hey, a couple of old friends have become available. Matt Bowman,
old friends.
Once again, back on the market. If that doesn't get you excited, how about a John Brebbia, who's also available right now, also has been pretty bad for like 3 years.
Ooh.
So do either of those two names, Alex, Matt Bowman, who Matheny really tried to crush his career.
He broke.
And
did he break Brebbia too? Or said
John
somebody else?
Brebbia.
I think that might have been Schilt.
I think Brebbia was Schilt.
Oh, okay.
And John Brebbia, who I really liked once upon a time, but I don't know that he still has anything left. Do either of those guys make sense to come in and bolster this bullpen?
I think Bowman does. If you just want to take a chance on a guy to see if he can get... I mean, look, we're talking about Svanson going down and Ryan Fernandez as the next option. And Ryan Fernandez is a good option, probably a better option than Matt Bowman because you've seen it before and he's younger. But Matt Bowman was doing really well in the AAA affiliate for the Minnesota Twins. I saw them reporting yesterday. So, yeah, I would take a chance on that. And I know the next answer is, well, how do you make that 40-man work? You DFA Roycroft. We're not even talking about Chris Roycroft right now because he hasn't been good for them in the minors. So you DFA Roycroft, you give it to Matt Bowman, you see what it works and looks like. And if it doesn't look good, well, then you just move on the same way that they're doing right now in Minnesota. So, yeah, Bowman makes sense. Brebbia, now he hasn't been good for a couple of years, so I would stay away from that one.
Yeah, I don't have any interest in Brebbia either. I'm with you on that one. Hadn't been good at the major league level. Was not very good down in the minor leagues for Minnesota this year. I get it. Bowman hasn't been good at the major league level. We've seen this all the time, though, with relievers. They're not good for like 4 years, and then they have 1 year where they figure it out again. I have interest in Bowman because he was striking out batters down at the minor leagues, 25 strikeouts and 21 in a third innings pitch. Yes, he was giving up 18 hits in that same time frame and had a couple of walks as well. I would be willing to give it a shot, though, and see if the swing and miss will translate. And if it doesn't, like Alex said, you can move on from him quickly. It's not going to cost you a ton of money. I would DFA Roycroft if that's what it takes to make the move happen. I have interest in Bowman, and it's hard to get much worse than what Svanson has been, so I would at least give it a shot.
Would you rather see Bowman or Fernandez?
I'd rather see Fernandez.
I would go Fernandez first. I agree with that.
I don't think you're going to be able to get Bowman if you go to Fernandez.
I think
right
if you
now.
put Bowman on the 40-man, you might be able to get him. Because what he did,
but he's going to sign with somebody as a major league contract, most likely.
I'm not sure of that. He triggered that clause in his deal with the Twins because they didn't put him on just the 40-man, not the major league roster. So I'm not sure that there's actually a major league deal out there for Bowman. I think he's more of a depth addition.
If you could get Bowman and stash him down at AAA, I'm definitely open to that. But if you're telling me you've got to sign Bowman to come to the major league roster, my guess is he'll sign somewhere for that opportunity. If that has to be the case, I would just rather go to Fernandez.
What's the harm of just doing it for a bit with Bowman to see what it looks like and let Fernandez keep doing what he's doing?
Because you lose Roycroft, and I know people will be like, oh, you lose Roycroft, who cares? And maybe that is the case. Bowman has no future whatsoever here. You know, he's 30.
I'd say Roycroft doesn't either, though.
Maybe
I would
not.
counter on, it's hard to pinpoint a bullpen arm that has a future with an organization.
Fair. And maybe that's the perspective, but I personally believe there's a better chance of Roycroft helping you in the future than there is in Bowman helping you in the future because of Bowman's age. I mean, the guy is closer to 40 than he is to 30.
Well, don't be so mean to the guys in their late 30s.
It's
Dude,
true.
The fact that he's 34 is wild to me because I remember when he broke in with
35.
the Cardinals. That makes me feel old.
Yeah, dude. When I walked into the Cardinals clubhouse, was it last week? And I realized I think I'm older than every single individual in this room.
That's mine with the Blues.
It was the first time that's happened for me while walking into the Cardinals clubhouse. And I was like, oh my God, I'm the oldest one in here.
Is it uncomfortable when you're interviewing them and talking to them? Because that's what it is for me now.
Not really. Where that really hit me, I told you guys about this, was when I went back to cover a Mizzou game. And I realized I'm older than everybody other than Gabe DeArmond. Everybody that's covering this team. Because, I had already been older than all the players.
Yeah.
But now I'm older than everybody covering the team as well. And they're talking to me about how they, read my work or listen to us on the radio. And I was like, oh, no, this is uncomfortable. I don't like any of this.
I was doing an interview with Braden Shen last season at the beginning of the year, and I'm sitting there, and somebody mentioned that he's the grizzled vet. And I looked at he's 32 years old, and I'm like, my God, I'm 3 years older than the grizzled vet on this team.
It happens fast, man.
Golly.
It happens fast.
You're old too, T-Bone.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. In 15 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers. But next, there's a player who, at least according to one report, has requested a trade in the NHL. Is he the kind of piece that the Blues should be targeting this offseason? We'll tell you who that is next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell to the Pirates yesterday 7-0. The rubber match of their 3-game set against Pittsburgh is later on this afternoon. 12:15 will be first pitch. Dustin May will be on the mound for St. Louis. We'll keep you updated on the Cardinals score throughout the day today here on 101 ESPN. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Okay, so full disclosure, there are two different competing reports, both from Slovakia this morning, both in language that I don't understand.
You read Slovak, man.
I don't, but people that do have said, one of them indicates Simon Nemec has requested a trade, demanded a trade maybe, from the New Jersey Devils. The other says that has very much not taken place. Simon Nemec has no such request in for the New Jersey Devils. So either he wants to be dealt or he doesn't want to be dealt. I remember something similar happening, Alex, with the Carolina Hurricanes and Natchez. Yeah. Where he was a guy who, maybe he wants to be traded. Maybe he doesn't. We're not sure. Is he comfortable? Is he happy? Does he want to play center? What's going on here?
It sounds like what we're hearing from the Brady Tkachuk from for the last 3 years, too.
Yeah, and ultimately, we all kind of know what happened there. Carolina eventually trades him. He's amazing and plays now for the Colorado Avalanche. Mm-hmm. My guess, Alex, is something probably comes out of this.
Yeah.
And Simon Nemec, the young defenseman for the New Jersey Devils, probably is dealt at some point within the next calendar year, even if not this offseason. Former number 2 overall selection in the 2022 NHL draft last season, played in 70 games for the Devils as a 21-year-old, averaged almost 20 minutes per night, and had 25 points on the season. Was a slight minus overall, but is a developing young defenseman that has some real value in the NHL. Not a small guy either at 6'1" and almost 200 pounds. If we operate under the assumption from the first report that he has requested a trade from the New Jersey Devils, is this the kind of player, a right-shot defenseman, that you believe the Blues should be targeting this offseason?
I don't know if should be targeting is the right word, because I don't think it's necessary for them to go add another defenseman. Like, I think if they were to come back with the same 6 that they ended last season with, I think they'd be fine. And then the upgrade of Adam Jiricek with Tyler Tucker being your 7th defenseman, I'm not concerned about the defense. But you can never have enough good defensemen. And frankly, I think the biggest issue with the Blues defense is being bigger and having a little more bite. And Nemec is a bigger defenseman, and he does have some nastiness to his game, plus he adds a lot of offense. I guess the concern with this is you're blocking Adam Jiricek if you make this trade, or you're asking somebody to play on their offhand, which then you might be blocking a Theo Lindstein. So I don't know if you need Simon Nemec, but you have an asset that we've talked a lot about with Jordan Kyrou of, like, what can you get for him? And if I can get a 2nd overall pick for Jordan Kyrou, a former 2nd overall pick for Jordan Kyrou, I think that might be the best return you can ask for if you're the Blues, if New Jersey's interested in that, and Kyrou would be willing to go to New Jersey. So what I would propose is, if you go after this, I think you can make the trade for Nemec. And then I think you can maybe look at trading Colton Parayko and seeing what you can get for that on the market. You trade a forward for a defenseman. You trade a defenseman for a forward.
Now, there are some people that really don't like Simon Nemec.
That's true.
Those people are anybody that looks at the numbers.
Yes, not good defensively.
His defensive numbers are not just bad. They're quite embarrassing. Like, among the worst in the NHL. He's a really good shooter as a defenseman, which I think is something that Jim Montgomery would value, because we've seen how much he values defensemen activating in the offensive zone.
Right.
He wants them to put shots on net. We saw when the Blues were at their best, both this year and last, how much that really got the offense going. You shoot from the point, get it toward the front of the net, create the distractions, and boom, that's the way you score your goals. You create the dirty areas. But he also values defensive defensemen and the ability to have success in your own end. The idea that going into next year, you would have Jiricek, Mailloux, and Nemec all of whom are young, developing defensemen on the same side. So at any given time, you've got to have one of them on the ice. Every single shift. For 60 minutes a night, you have one of the three names that I just mentioned on the ice. Mizzou, who really developed nicely by the end of the season, but hey, man, there's going to be some development that still has to occur. Jiricek, who has never approached the NHL level, and Nemec, who in the NHL has been awful defensively. That's a scary proposition if you're a team that's trying to contend again next year for a playoff spot. Would I be interested in it? Hell yeah, I would, because look at the upside. But it is a scary idea. I think given what the asking price is likely to be from the Devils, where you're probably going to have to dangle a Jordan Kyrou, my guess, Alex, for me, I will be more excited about other returns for Kyrou than I would be about Simon Nemec. I think that I would probably end up being out on this.
I think Nemec, you hope Adam Jiricek can be Simon Nemec. Everything we've heard about Adam Jiricek, and JR's going to have a piece out where he talked with Jay McKee about how this guy is going to translate to the NHL right away. He's got offense, he's got grit, he can play the defensive end, he makes smart decisions. I think you've got Nemec and Adam Jiricek, and you're just going after the second overall pick, which, guys, sometimes picks that are made in the second or third overall spot can be busts. No doubt. So I'm with you. I think if you want to get creative, I think you could look to see what you could get for Colton Parayko. Could you get a better return for Parayko than Jordan Kyrou? Because if you can get an upgrade on the offensive side for Colton Parayko and New Jersey's interested in Kyrou, then it's interesting. But, I mean, you're right. Your defense is not good. It is very raw. Now, maybe you're okay with that. Maybe that's what you want in the retool and you develop.
I'll ask you a quick follow-up on that, just based upon what you just said. Would you trade Parayko for Nemec?
Yeah, I probably would. I mean, I was going to trade Parayko for Radim Murtka, and Murtka's just as raw. He hasn't even played in the AHL yet. So, yeah, I probably would, because I'm doing what we were praising the Blues to do at the trade deadline of trading an older defenseman to get a younger piece that is going to be a core piece of your team.
That I would be more likely to do, just to give my two cents.
I don't think New Jersey wants that, though. That's the thing. New Jersey wants help on the offensive side, which is why they look at Kyrou. And I don't think you're going to get the same value for Kyrou that Nemec would be in return. I just don't think teams are willing to give that up.
And we view that differently. I think you could get something better for Kyrou than this.
Yeah.
Something that matches what you need more. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not quite as good of a player with as high of an upside as Nemec, but it is at a position that you need more. So maybe it's a left-handed defenseman or somebody that can help you up the middle, even if it's not right now, in the future. Or you package Kyrou with something else to get you something of more meaning that's more established at the NHL level. That's the direction that I would try to go. I'm also more open to keeping Jordan Kyrou than I think you are. So this is just not the kind of move that I would probably want to.
I do think that the more important aspect of where you're at as an organization is developing your defensemen. And that's where Colton Parayko makes more sense than going after a Simon Nemec. Lindstein's going to have to develop, Jiricek's going to have to develop, and you raise a good point. The fact that I'm going to be throwing every single shift for 60 minutes, a guy that is that raw in the NHL, it's a dangerous proposition to go with. So, yeah, I think it makes a lot more sense to just say, nope, let's hope Adam Jiricek becomes what Simon Nemec's hype is, and we'll be good to go.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. The Thunderbirds back in action tonight. I mentioned Adam Jiricek. He's expected to be in the lineup for the Thunderbirds as they take on the Penguins in Game 4 of their series in the AHL playoffs. You'll be able to hear that right here on your home of the Blues with pregame coverage beginning at 5:50 tonight. Coming up next, let's get into questions and answers. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line. You get your questions in. We'll answer them next here on 101 ESPN. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers from the 636. Guys, now that we got some more details from Drinkwitz about Hardy when he was in the hospital, would it make more sense for Hardy's future, both in college and hopefully in the NFL, for Hardy to miss at least half of the season, maybe the entire year, instead of trying to rush him back? Honestly, we have no idea.
Yeah, it's too hard to speculate on that.
I don't know what his rehab's going to be, and frankly, it sure doesn't seem like Mizzou knows what his rehab's going to look like either. They have said consistently they need at least a month before they can even determine what his return to play curriculum is going to look like. So if he's able to play this year, I think you play him. And if he's not, then you hold him out. I know that sounds simple, but I think that's the way they're going to operate.
Yeah.
Whenever he's ready to go, they'll put him on the field. But until then, there's really nothing to talk about.
We're talking about a gunshot victim here, man. Like, you need to let this thing organically take care of itself. And when Ahmad Hardy says, I'm good and I'm ready to do this, that's when he comes back to the field.
From the 636, guys, why is there heavy speculation from Minnesota that the Wild could acquire Robert Thomas and do so with the trade that centers around a goalie prospect? I haven't seen anything speculating that that's going to happen. I just saw that they offered their goalie prospects
Russo
to the
said
Blues.
they're going to revisit the conversation.
Sure, I'm sure they would love to.
Yeah, they need a number one center. Like, they're tied to Vincent Trocheck. They're tied to Elias Pettersson. I think it was, I don't want to misrepresent this, but I thought it was Dreger. It was a Hockey Insider that said, I would predict that one of McDavid or Matthews will be a Minnesota Wild in 2 years.
That makes
so
sense.
they need a center. Minnesota is not making a deal with the Blues for Robert Thomas. I can 100% confidently say that.
And I would also add, when you see a report that says they're going to circle back, that's the prototypical, he wouldn't be doing his job, the Wild GM, if he didn't circle back.
Buffalo and Utah are going to circle back with St. Louis, too, because they nearly had a deal done at the deadline.
I would add this. If I'm a Wild fan, I'm thrilled that got posted.
Yeah.
Because it shows you our GM is trying. A guy became available. They put their best foot forward. This is probably the best offer that the Wild could realistically give to the Blues.
Yeah.
It also makes no sense for the Blues to make that trade. So if your best offer, the top trade chip in said offer, is a goalie, that's a non-starter in my opinion for the Blues.
Yeah.
That's not the position that they're looking for. So to me, it's just it's a good look for Minnesota toward their fans to show we are trying.
Yeah.
We're doing everything we can to upgrade the position that clearly we need to be better at. And this is the guy that maybe is at the top of that market. But from the Blues perspective, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense.
They're in their winning window. Bill Guerin is an incredible general manager, and he's going to do everything possible to make his team better. This just isn't going to be the move that gets it done.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from Dirk Diggler's unit. Are you guys concerned at all about Mason Wynn's bat? I guess it depends. Am I concerned that he's not going to take another step forward and become a 15 to 20% above league average hitter? Sure. I think that's a fair concern. Am I concerned about it to the point where he's not a good contributing starting member of a quality team? No. So I guess it just depends on what you're asking here. What's the level of concern? I think he's probably roughly a league average bat and a platinum glove winning shortstop.
Yeah, and if you didn't have Jordan Walker performing, if you didn't have J.J. Weatherholt performing and Burleson and Herrera, this would be very concerning. You've got four guys that have the ability to be stars for your team. Mason Wynn can be a complementary piece on your roster.
I think Mason Wynn is Dansby Swanson. I think that's what his future is probably going to look like for the St. Louis Cardinals, somewhere in that range. Will he ever get to the power that Dansby Swanson has found in his mid to late 20s? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But maybe he becomes more of a doubles hitter than Swanson has been, so you get to the slug just in a different way. But I think that's the kind of player you're looking at here, which is a roughly league average hitter, plus defense, good base runner, just all around really good player that you want on a contending team.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I have no concern about it because I think if you were asking him to be a guy that was 10, 20% above league average, you were probably asking him to do too much. And this is where we had these conversations in the offseason of, hey, man, if Walker didn't end up finding his stride or Herrera didn't repeat what he did last year, same with Burley, you would be putting guys in positions that they're not meant to be. I think this is fine with him. I think he might be I like the Swanson one. That's a pretty good comp, too. I wonder if he's like Andrelton Simmons.
Sure.
Simmons was always a guy that was that gold glove caliber guy that was 10% below league average for most part of his career. If he ends up being one of those two guys, that would be a huge win for the Cardinals. You can hit him 6 through 9 in your lineup, and you're happy with it.
That's not a superstar. But it's a guy that's elite at something, and as long as you have other players that are in the top 4 to 5 of your lineup that you trust, you can win with that guy. It just puts more pressure on finding those other answers for your lineup. 314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 314, where could we see a projected lineup for the Thunderbirds for tonight? You'll eventually see it from Ryan Smith.
Yeah.
He'll post it on Twitter, but it's not out just yet. It'll be later on this afternoon.
Yeah, he typically does it like hour before puck drop. They do their morning skates. Typically, they're optional. So when they do their pre-warm-ups before the game, he'll put it out there. So, yeah, you'll see it about 5:30 tonight.
From the 618, gentlemen, looking for a great honeymoon destination in November of this season. Any advice on where we should go? Mainly want to get out of the country and warm enough to swim, but open to just about anything.
Katie and I did Hawaii, and we loved it. We were talking about doing it again for our 10-year. When you have 3 kids and very little time, it's not an easy thing to do, but we loved Hawaii when we went. So that would be my recommendation.
We did Punta Cana in the Dominican. It was fantastic. Highly recommend it. Anywhere you go.
Looks nice on the videos I've seen.
My sister went there this summer, and she said it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So
it's one of my destinations, honeymoon or not.
You're anywhere you go, it's a honeymoon, you're going to have an absolute blast. So I would say the biggest thing, see what your price range can get you in.
Yep, don't overdo it.
Everybody's got a different thing, and if you're cool with just going to some kind of a resort, find the resort that you want to go to, because realistically speaking, it's less about the destination city-wise and more about your specific resort that you want to go to, because you're going to spend the majority of your time there anyways. So whether that's in Cancun, Punta Cana, Hawaii, wherever, figure out the resort that that's speaking to you, because they all kind of look the same once you get there, and you're going to just enjoy whatever it is that you do. The other thing here is, like, Hawaii is a far more expensive flight than going to Cancun. Same thing for Punta Cana. That's a far more expensive flight. So if you find a place in Cancun that you just absolutely love the resort, maybe that's the way you go. But you'll have a blast regardless of where you decide to go.
Everybody's saying, Alex, Hawaii is technically still in the country. Look, it's a 12-hour flight. It's out of the country for me, okay? It's far enough away.
I wasn't going to say anything.
If money was no object, what is the place that you're like, I would like to go here?
Italy. It's Katie and I's bucket list. We're going to Italy at some point. It's just a matter of when, not if.
That's a good one. Italy's one that would be high on my list, especially if you get one of those like towns that kind of overlooks the water.
Like Rome and Sicily are the 2 spots that her and I have said we want to go. Rome for the sightseeing.
Right?
Yeah, Sicilian.
Boy.
Always knocks the Sicilians. They got anger issues. I don't know if you know this about Sicilians. So
Well,
it
they
makes
put
sense
all the
for me.
criminals.
They have tone issues
Yeah,
they put all the criminals over there.
Yeah.
in Sicily or whatever it is.
Sicily.
Sicily?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the boot part of Italy so that they can kick you.
Huh. Didn't know that.
Yeah, but Sicily because it's the motherland.
I still am going to stick with Costa Rica. Ever since I've seen a video on that when I was in high school in Spanish class, I've always wanted to go. It's on my list to go down there and kind of explore like the tropics.
You're going to go into the rainforest in Costa Rica?
Yeah.
Might get like some type of poison or something from it.
Be a great story to tell on air. I'm about the content.
That is true.
All about the content.
Barcelona is one that I would really like to go to.
You going to go run with the Bulls?
Yeah. Oh my God, you should totally do that.
That is really high up on my list. Kara really wants to go to Germany. You guys know how much I'm into beer, and I'm in like a really big Pilsners and lagers part of my life right now.
I've heard that about you.
So going over to Germany would be incredible. See a bunch of the different breweries.
I feel like if you do Germany, you got to go during Beer Fest or Oktoberfest. It's the only way I could do Germany.
Such a tourist trap, but I don't care.
I want to go to Greece too.
Trap me. Greece is a good one. My sister-in-law went to Greece, loved it there. The Virgin Islands I've heard are incredible.
There's so many places.
T-Bone should go to Amsterdam. I bet you'd love that.
I would love to go to Amsterdam.
Why would I love that? What is this?
It makes sense. You'd love that too.
I've heard fantastic things about the food scene in Amsterdam.
No, that's not what I was talking about.
Okay.
I've heard the beer there is great.
In Amsterdam? Belgium? Mm-hmm. That's another place that I'd like to go.
Oh, never mind.
That's not...
I was thinking of a different place.
Talking about the Netherlands?
Yeah, that's what I thought we were talking about.
Yeah, we were, and then we switched to go to Belgium.
I was like, okay, wait a minute. Okay.
Keep up, T-Bone. Keep up, T-Bone.
I'm glad to know I wasn't wrong
Get
there.
some waffles.
Oh, yeah, better than pancakes.
I'm more a pancake guy.
Have you ever had a Belgian waffle?
Pancakes are trash.
Actually, yes, but I still prefer pancakes.
Pancakes are trash, and I will stand on that ground for the rest of my life.
I like both. Put them in front of me, I'll eat them.
Trash.
Coming up in 15 minutes, I got to talk a little bit about Mizzou because they have a new coaching salary structure in place for their basketball coaching staff. Alex and Tebow and I do not believe have seen this yet. I want to get their immediate reaction to what was announced yesterday. We'll get into that in 15 minutes. But next, it sure feels like the Cardinals offense is reverting back to what it was. How much of that matters, though? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and Tebow, and I'm BK. It sure feels as though the Cardinals offense has reverted back to what it was before they had that significant power surge. Is that okay? Does it matter? I think that's the question that I'd like to explore with you guys here on BK and Ferrario. It's 12:06, your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Alex, you look at what they've been in the month of May. It's mostly below league average stuff. Offensively, as a team, The Cardinals are batting .243 this month. They're getting on base 31% of the time, and their slugging percentage is back down to .369, which ranks 19th in Major League Baseball this month. You look overall, the OPS plus type of stuff, the super nerdy numbers, they're roughly 20th in Major League Baseball so far in the month of May. You look individually, though, at what individual Cardinals hitters have done so far this month, and it kind of paints a different picture in terms of my overall level of pessimism. Jordan Walker has been amazing in May. He's batting .315 this month and has a .600 slugging percentage. All right, no worries there.
Thanks, Jordan.
Alec Burleson batting .300 this month with a .500 slugging percentage. That'll do, Burley. Nolan Gorman this month is batting .255. He's slugging .415, and he's been almost 30% above league average. That'll play for Gorman. Herrera's been a little lower than what you'd expect, and that's all based upon slugging percentage, which is really the story of his season. And then J.J. Weatherholt has been about league average. We know he just went into a bit of a dry spell. And then you've got Mason Wynn, who's, we talked about it, not slugging. And then it's Nathan Church, Victor Scott, Fermin, Pages, JC. None of those guys have been good. I look at these numbers and I think to myself, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much what I would expect out of this lineup, even though some of their slugging numbers aren't quite what they had been. They're not quite as rosy. And I think a lot of that just goes back to Ivan Herrera's not hitting homers. In 17 games, he has 1 home run. If that changes, I feel pretty good about the offense once again. So what have you made of the Cardinals offense in the month of May, Alex, and what it means for them moving forward?
I think you're going to have some regression at some point. And like you mentioned, a lot of this is because Herrera's not hitting home runs, and J.J. Weatherholt has gone through a little bit of a slump, and Walker's not hitting a home run every single day like he was at the beginning of the season. I think this just is more telling about what happens beyond your 4 hitters. Weatherholt, Herrera, Burleson, and Walker. Gorman's been good for you. Wynn has not been at league average, and Church has fallen off, and Scott just hasn't been there for you. So when you don't have that pop that's coming from all 4 of those guys at the top, you really don't have anybody else that's cleaning up the rest behind them. And you asked the question, are you okay? Are we okay if this starts to regress a little bit with slug? Well, yes, I'm okay, but I think you have to change your expectations a little bit of the Cardinals, because if the slug disappears, now you're relying on them to be excellent on the base paths, getting on base, coming up with big hits, perfect defensively, and your pitching needs to be great. What was covering up those warts for you, and I mean, even the pitching wasn't really a wart, it was your bullpen that was the slug was making you overlook the pitching deficiencies early on. So if that disappears and we're back to talking about, man, where's the slug coming from? Then everything else has to be perfect to maintain the level of success that you're going with. But I fully anticipated some type of regression from this, because we talked all offseason about how I don't know where the slug's going to come from.
I would say the biggest things that have changed, Weatherholt and Gorman have basically flipped from what it was in the first month of the season to where you are right now, where Weatherholt was 40% above league average, Gorman was 20% below league average offensively in the first month. Now, Gorman's 30% above league average, and Weatherholt is 10% below league average. So they've flipped spots in terms of who is producing at that level. Pages went from a guy that in the first month of the season was pretty darn good for you offensively to a guy that in this month has been completely unplayable offensively. He is batting .110 in the month of May with a slugging percentage of .220. He is also striking out 30% of the time. So I would say one of the things that we've learned about this lineup in the month of May, you kind of need everybody to contribute in some way. It doesn't have to be crazy, even like Victor Scott. He hasn't been great this month, but he hasn't been quite as awful as he was in the first month of the season, which allows for you to say, all right, yeah, he's fine. When you have somebody like Pages who's almost an automatic out right now, it's really hard to overcome that because you don't have, quite the same level of depth with the stars that a Phillies or a Dodgers or some of the Braves, some of these top lineups across the National League have. So you get exposed a bit when you have one complete black hole in your lineup, and that's what Pages has been in this month.
Yeah, and that's why, when you look at their lineup, they kind of need to me, they needed to be kind of top 12-ish to kind of carry the pitching staff. And now, right now, why you haven't really seen it kind of show its warts since the numbers are a little bit worse this month is because the pitching's actually been able to pick them up.
Yep.
And the reason that I say you probably need that offense to be top 12-ish throughout the season, I just don't know that I don't think you're going to get this kind of pitching moving forward. As we've talked about, their rotation screams regression candidate coming from a couple of guys, on top of the fact that bullpen kind of figuring it out, but also when you get more into the back end of that pin, as you saw last night, when they have to chase a game, they don't have a ton of great options. So that's why this quote-unquote slump that I would call it for the offense as a whole is kind of coming at the right time. It's coming as the pitching's on a heater, but the offense is going to have to get back to kind of where it was at the beginning of the year, where you're right. It's kind of a committee-style approach with a little bit of pop coming from everywhere around that lineup. Otherwise, once the pitching starts to regress, that's when you could start to see them kind of start to, I don't know if I'd say spiral, but start to go on one of those runs where it is, hey, instead of winning, 11 out of 15, maybe they end up losing like 9 out of 15, for example.
Cardinals back in action momentarily against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Game 3, the rubber match of this series against Pittsburgh. Cardinals have won 5 of the first 6 games against the Pirates head-to-head. Today, it is Dustin May on the mound. He will be going up against Braxton Ashcroft, a young right-handed pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who this season has had some significant splits against left-handed hitters. They are batting .235 against him, but have some real pop, a 715 OPS. Meanwhile, right-handed hitters against Braxton Ashcroft on the season have a 525 OPS. This is much like what you saw last night, where it was all about the left-handed hitters in the Cardinals lineup. Unfortunately for them, it appears that Nathan Church will not be able to be in the lineup today. He was a late scratch from the lineup, and Jose Fermin replaced him in left field. So I would circle J.J. Weatherholt, Alec Burleson, Nolan Gorman. Those are the guys that you need to do damage today against Braxton Ashcroft. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll have any updates from that Cardinals game as it continues along here on BK and Ferrario. Coming up next, though, we got to talk a little bit about Mizzou. Their basketball coaching staff underwent some significant changes yesterday. We'll talk about some of those, what they mean for Mizzou next year on 101 ESPN. Boy.
I love a good inside the park.
Well,
Oh, my God.
looking back, scratching Nathan Church kind of mattered.
Jose Fermin's lucky he didn't just die.
I think that probably would have been called a home run on a challenge anyways, but
Really? Didn't that hit the top there?
I couldn't tell. I think it might have hit the very, very top. For those not watching the Cardinals game.
Let's bring listeners in.
Yeah. So
Cameraman waves.
Dustin May just gave up a really long shot. And Jose Fermin, who's starting today in left field in place of Nathan Church, who was a late scratch for the Cardinals, attempted to go up to get a ball that was right at the wall. Unfortunately, he did not get it. It then falls in play, and the Pirates hitter runs around the bases to score what is effectively a Little League home run.
I mean, he face planted into that thing.
So that's not a great way to start the day.
It's fine. Only one run. Cardinals can come back from that, right, boys?
I just looked up. I was curious. Where would you think Brandon Lau had that inside the park home run ranks in terms of sprint speed?
Oh, it's middle of the pack?
It's a good guess. He's 45th percentile.
Yikes.
That's who he just gave up an inside the park home run.
So really, there was no backup on the defensive side of things in the outfield.
I would
Victor
have
Scott assumed Fermin had it.
Also, it's Victor Scott's arm, so that's not going to help things either.
Sure, but it took him forever to get to the ball. Which
Yeah,
was
I mean, Fermin was laying like one of those, what you would call it? Yeah, like where they draw the pedestrian thing out on the road. He was just laying there while nobody came from around. The camera just panned back to the infield.
I mean, it wasn't a great moment for the Cardinals.
What was worse, that or Marcelo Ozuna leaping for a
easily.
ball?
Ozuna
Ozuna completely...
easier.
That was a routine fly ball that he thought was going over the wall.
Yeah.
At least this was a tough play.
Yeah.
Still great, though, man.
From a guy who doesn't typically play in the outfield. Meanwhile, Ozuna was a Gold Glover.
Yeah, but don't run into the wall. If you're going to be close to him, man, just stand next to the wall and get the ball off of
I
it.
think he leaped because I think he thought it was going to be gone.
Yeah,
I think that's why he went for it.
I think he thought it was going to be a play at the wall to potentially rob a home run. It didn't quite get up the way that he thought it would. And so he had to try to make a play closer to the wall than he was expecting. And, yeah, it didn't go well for him. Or for the Cardinals, for that matter.
It doesn't get up when you thought it would, man.
We could have just let that one sit.
I thought the awkward pause was
Yeah, you're the one
an invitation.
who made it awkward
Yeah.
with the pause.
I thought it was an
that was
invitation.
the whole goal, and then we could have just...
Well, the goal is you
Moved
just
right
pass
along.
through that and you just keep talking, but you paused for 3 seconds to let the joke simmer, which T-Bone didn't do during the commercial break.
Oh, all right, so that's Alex.
Better.
This one was so much better.
He's T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Yesterday, it was announced that Mizzou basketball, they have amended some of their contracts. They've also added a few new assistants to their coaching staff. So Jimmy Foster, Tavares Hardy, Jason Crow Sr., and Zach Reynolds have all been added to the Mizzou coaching staff. Foster is on a one-year deal worth $250,000. Hardy got a one-year deal worth $250,000. Jason Crow Sr., yes, the father of Jason
We
Crow
do
Jr.,
this, apparently. Top prospects get their dads with them.
he got a 2-year deal with Mizzou basketball. It's worth $500,000. He's getting a $300 base salary per year and $200,000 in what Missouri classifies as non-salary compensation.
Yeah, we want to keep your son here.
That will be paid for media obligations and a few other things that appear to be basically coaching NIL. Is the best way that I can describe it.
Yeah.
Zach Reynolds got a 2-year deal worth $200,000. And then, this is the part that I found quite interesting. The other Mizzou coaching members that are returning from a year ago almost all got pay cuts. So one of the assistants had already been scheduled to go from $250K to $200K in year 2 of his salary. Another one was cut from $190,000 to $100,000. And the top assistant from a year ago, Kyle Smith-Peters, who's been on, I believe, every staff that Dennis Gates has had since arriving at Mizzou, he was dropped from $300,000 to $250K. for the upcoming season. So a $50,000 cut in salary for Kyle Smith-Peters. Meanwhile, Jason Crow Sr., the father of their top recruit, is going to make $500K next year. I find this to be quite interesting. If I was one of the assistants that was asked to take a significant pay cut in order to bring on these new coaches, I would probably look for a new job instead.
Yeah, I'd be pissed.
If I'm just being candid. And if I'm Kyle Smith-Peters specifically, I'd be furious. I've been here with you the entire time. I've been one of your top recruiters. I'm one of the guys that you trust to help with scheme. And you're going to ask me to take a $50,000 pay cut when our assistant coaching pool has increased significantly for the upcoming
and
year?
You're paying what? Is that 7 guys? 8 guys? Is that normal for a coaching staff to have that many?
It's becoming more normal around
Good
college
God,
basketball.
man.
But
the problem here is Jason Crow Sr. Like, that's really why we're having this conversation. Like, this guy's getting paid $500,000 and $300,000 of it, or $200,000 of it, is media obligations. And your assistant coaches who have been here with you this entire time, the group that you're supposed to be committing to, and they get pay cuts so that you could get your top prospects' dad a part of the coaching staff so that you can keep them. And I know people don't like that. Them's the ropes in the NIL.
yeah, no doubt.
If you want top talent, you're going to have to adhere to what the top talent's family wants.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. It's not just Jason Crow Jr. I don't think you guys have seen this part. They also hired Tony Bryant's coach. One of the names that I just mentioned. Now, he's not related to Tony Bryant, as far as I'm aware, at least. Zach Reynolds, the guy that got a 2-year, $200,000 deal for Mizzou to be a new coach there, an assistant under Dennis Gates, he coached at Tony Bryant's high school. He was the head coach for Tony Bryant, the 4-star recruit that Mizzou got that's a big part of this recruiting class, at his high school. So you are now paying $700,000 next year to Jason Crow Jr.'s dad and Tony Bryant's former high school basketball coach, which I'm all in favor of. If this is how you get the talent, I got no issues with that. I'm not going to critique it. I'm not going to be upset about it. You got the players. Ultimately, that's what matters. So I don't care that they did that. I'm just saying if I'm one of the former assistants and you're doing that, cool, no problem. Let's increase the staff. Let's get more guys here. We continue to bring these guys into the fold. But when you come to me and you say, hey, you're going to take in the case of one of these guys, near 50% pay cut while we're bringing these guys on, I got some follow-up questions. Or another guy who was your top assistant going from $300,000 to $250,000, I've got some questions about that.
I have some questions, yes, but one of those questions is, does my responsibilities get cut too?
Probably not.
Well, then that's the part that I've got a problem with, because if you're adding all of these assistant coaches with all of this salary and you're taking money from me, they'll take on some of the duties that I did.
There's a chance that this all goes really well. And you added more staff. That was necessary. You needed more people, development, all of these different things, right? Like, Timon, you know, on the Illinois staff, I'm sure they've got a ton of dudes that, like, they've all got different roles. They bring something different to the table. We see this in baseball where you have now 3 pitching coaches and 3 different hitting coaches, and you've got a game plan specialist, and you've got a catching coordinator, all these different things.
Well, and I'm sure it didn't go over well at first in Illinois' room when Brad Underwood said, hey, my boy, going to be my offensive coordinator, essentially.
Your son.
Yeah.
To specify what he means when he says my boy, my son.
And it worked out. To be clear, it worked out. I mean, they had one of the best offense in the country last year.
And I think his son was one of the leading minds behind going overseas to get many of the players that ultimately led to the success that they had this year.
So he was the cheater.
It's not cheating. It's part of the rules. I'm going to stick up for you, T-Bone, because I love it. It's great.
Because he wants his team to do it, too.
Yeah, man. Hey, show me the rules. I'll play the game. It's not against the rules to pay his father to be our coach.
Yeah.
That's within our rules.
I got a problem with the rules.
We can pay the kid to come here, and we can pay his
Don't
dad.
hate the player, hate the game.
I got a problem with the rules.
Fine. But I'm going to play within those rules.
Yeah, until the rules change.
They're cheap rules, man. It's not a real win. You know what? Your championships don't matter.
I mean, it's the same thing like the hiring a coach. They did this with Porter's dad when they had
Which
him.
I was in favor of.
Yeah, I mean, do what you got to do, man. Hey,
Get the players.
You got to win in the Wild Wild West any way you can.
Agree.
Here's my big takeaway from all of this, though. If this thing goes sideways, and there's a chance it does, it doesn't always work out when you get top-level recruits like this. T-Bone, you remember Rutgers a few years ago? Mm-hmm. They had 2 of the top players in the country. They were unbelievable. Ended up becoming both lottery picks, I believe, that year. And that team finished under 500. There's no guarantees that this works at Mizzou. If it goes sideways early on, and you have some infighting, I would imagine it goes really sideways. Because now you might have some finger pointing. The staff's not thrilled about their pay cuts that they took this year to get these guys in, and now it's not working, and look at what's happening, right? And now you've got these dudes that are one and done that might not be quite as committed to the long-term build. Remember that situation at Kansas a year ago where they had one of the best players in the country, a likely top 3 selection. Kansas had enough talent to where, we're able to boost it up even when Darren Peterson's not on the court or when he's selectively deciding when he is on the court. I don't know that Mizzou has enough to cover up if things go sideways with the Jason Crow Jr. or if Tony Bryant doesn't become exactly the player they need him to be. All of this just adds to the pressure that is on Dennis Gates heading into this season. It is an all-in year in every way possible.
Yep.
They have significantly increased the assistant coaches pool despite decreasing from some of the previous assistants that were there. They've brought in big-time talent in the transfer portal. I would imagine they paid handsomely for some of that. They paid handsomely, certainly, for Jason Crow Jr. and his father. If his dad's getting $500K, imagine what Jason Crow Jr. is getting.
No, imagine one of the players that's not making $500K that looks as his dad and be like, he's making more than me.
They better win. They had better win this year, or this is it.
Yep.
I don't know that you can lose this year, not have success, and still retain the services of Dennis Gates beyond this season.
Yeah.
It is an all-in year for Dennis Gates.
What do we define as that, though?
I think he's gone
Because
after this year.
Well, no, I get that. I mean, like, what are we determining? I was
going to say, I don't know why we're asking that question.
I got that part of
what it means.
Yeah,
What do you mean,
year.
all in year? No, I mean, like, what are we defining as success? Because this is where BK and I differ a lot of times when it comes to Mizzou success. With this kind of talent, I mean, it's definitely not getting the NCAA tournament. My God, that's easy now.
You're not going to fire him, though, if you get to the tournament. That's not a failure. If you miss the tournament next year,
with this kind of talent,
yeah, I was going to say, I think you have to win.
I mean, he missed the tournament. I mean,
he's
I
not,
would think
he's
any
not getting
coach
fired if he gets to the tournament.
Even if it's just the round of 76 or whatever it is, and then he's gone.
He's not getting fired.
And then they
for
lose.
That. He's not getting
losing
fired.
that
I don't
first.
know,
You get 3
man.
consecutive NCAA tournaments at Mizzou, you don't get fired for that. I'm sorry, it's not the same criteria as Illinois. That'd be like if an Illinois head coach went 7-5 3 consecutive seasons and you're ready to fire him. No, that's ridiculous. They've had like 3 7-win seasons in the last 20 years.
That's not fun for T-Bone.
I understand, and that's where me and T-Bone disagree on this.
I would also add, I think Mizzou basketball is different than Illinois football. Because I would agree with that sentiment on Illinois football. We're talking about a program not that long ago that was a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Not that long ago, 15 years ago, brother.
I mean, that's in my lifetime. It's possible to do it at Missouri. And with this kind of talent coming in, if he can't get them past the first round, dude, come on.
The last time that Missouri went to the NCAA tournament in 3 consecutive seasons was 2010 to 2013. Man, it's been 15 years since I was in college. That's when I was there. So, yeah, if he gets to the tournament again this year, he ain't getting fired at the end of the season.
Yeah, but I think if it's just hey, he got to the tournament, like with this year's roster,
it's a disappointing season. It is not a failure to the point where you will fire him. That's crazy.
I think it should be. I mean, you got to take steps forward, and if you don't take steps forward with this
talent,
Dennis
Gates gets to the NCAA tournament and loses in the first round, he is fired.
I think he should be.
Yeah.
With that type of talent, and you're not making any strides forward.
That kind of money you're spending, the increase in the coaches'
you're paying a coach $500,000 to just be the dad to get the player, and the player didn't get you past the first round.
If you have a successful season this year, you win 20. Like, if they have the same season that they did in 2023, Dennis Gates' first season, they won 25 games that year, and let's say they lose in the first round instead of the second round this time around. You're not firing him for that.
Well, then it's not a all-in year then.
It is. You've got it.
Because he gets a participation trophy for getting into the tournament, which is easy now.
If you end up as a 5 seed and you lose to the 12 seed in the first round, and it's a close game, had a good year, you felt really good about everything, had some big-time wins, maybe they beat Illinois head-to-head, like,
Sorry.
I just think the idea of you then leaving the season and saying to yourself, yeah, we're firing the coach that has now been to 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments and won 25 games for us this year, that I can't imagine there are how many coaches in recent college basketball history have been fired after winning 25 games that year. I can't imagine it's many.
How many coaches have brought in this kind of talent, though, and had a 5 seed?
I mean, Missouri, while talented, is like a top 25-ish talent roster right now.
This is like
it's not Kentucky. This is not like we'll have to assume he's going to the draft. He's a one and done.
okay. Tony Bryant's gone, but maybe you
If you
already
fire
assumed
Gates,
that. Yeah. So I mean, like the talent that you've brought in, you're going to have to start from ground zero with that again. So I would imagine you're probably trying to make this thing look, we got this group of talent. Let's try and win as much as we can. And for the unsuccessful, if it's 2 straight seasons and all this talent's gone after that and you're one and dones, then I think you get to that table where it's like, look, you can make the tournament. You're not doing anything, though.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay.
I don't think this is a season. When I say it's an all-in year, I mean, like, it's an all-in year to be better than you have been, where Missouri has basically been the St. Louis Cardinals in recent years, where they just do enough to get in, and they barely get in. Their seeding over the last couple of tournaments is a 10 seed and a 6 seed, and they were kind of a soft 10 and a soft 6, right? Like, I'm a soft 6 in St. Louis. I go to LA, I'm a 3, comparatively speaking, right? That's Missouri. You look at some of their
overachieving.
you look at some of their opponents that they go up against, and they're okay. In 2022, that was a pretty good team, and they ended up as a 6-7 seed in that tournament. If you win 25 games again this year, you get to the tournament and like the ball bounces the wrong way, I don't think I'm firing Dennis Gates. But I know T-Bone holds his coaches to a higher standard because he's a fan of Illinois, where they have so much success both in college basketball and in college football. And historically speaking,
It is tough.
The basketball one was a little bit
pivot. He's trying to pivot away from me turning with the Mizzou crowd against Dennis Gates and what all in should mean. Not this participation.
I don't
trophy.
disagree with that.
I love bowl game effort from Brandon Kiley.
All in and being like, oh, if you get bounced in the first round as a 5 seed, then it was a good year.
76 in Dayton.
I just think Brett Bielema should be fired this year if he wins 7 games. That'll be 3 seasons in a row where he had the 10-win season. You got to capitalize on that last year with this quarterback returning, and he only won 9 games, didn't get you back into the playoff conversation, fell short of all of your expectations, lost 4 conference games, got blown out against the really high-level teams on their schedule, and then you come back, you win 7, you can't take a step forward. Clearly, the program's heading in the wrong direction. You got to fire him.
Same amount of playoff appearances as Drink and Mizzou. Same amount.
Yeah. And we're also talking basketball here, where 76 teams
of the programs are clearly on the
Final
up.
Four.
Yeah, no, Illinois and Missouri definitely on the same path when it comes to their football programs, respectively, and very similar histories.
This is why it's fun for me not being a college football fan of a certain team.
Illinois took down Michigan on the road.
What?
Took down Michigan at home.
Yeah, they fired their coach this year.
Well, there was a lot of other circumstances involved with Michigan's head coach.
And they were happy that they were able to find a way to fire that coach.
He's won the big game, man. He's won the big game. Haven't seen it from Drink.
What's the biggest game that he's won?
I just said it. Probably the Michigan game.
An unranked Michigan team.
No, they were ranked at the time. He beat Penn State in 9 overtimes on the road. That's impressive. I mean, Drink's big wins what? The Cotton Bowl against the 3rd strings of Ohio State?
No.
You always like to point back at that game.
They played
against in the playoff that year if it were expanded.
They beat Tennessee at home or on the road that season and kicked their ass.
Pretty sure they finished unranked.
Dear Lord, man. Dear Lord. All right.
Put a poll up. Let's see. Put a poll up on on Gates.
If he wins 25 games and makes it to the NCAA tournament, loses in the first round, should he be fired?
Yeah.
I'll put it up on Twitter at BK Sports Talk. Poll it. I will also poll who's been a better coach at their respective team, Drinkwitz or Brett Bielema.
Yeah, we can go Drink and see if he'll vote.
Yeah, tag Drink on it.
Absolutely.
Tag Bielema on it too, actually.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll dive into the junk drawer. But next, have the Brewers officially overtaken the bleeping Cubs as the best team in this division again? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals currently in action in the rubber match. Their 3-game set against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pirates lead it 1-0 going to the top of the third. We'll keep you updated on the Cardinals score throughout the day today here on 101 ESPN. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside T-Bone and Alex, I'm BK. Oh, this show's so stupid.
Why don't you do your voice for the listeners?
You're making a bunch of weird noises during the commercial break.
BK, not a voice guy. Learned that.
Oh, the K-State game doesn't count because they weren't good at the end of the year. They were the number 13 Tennessee Volunteers, but we don't care because 2 weeks later they were unranked. Oh, okay, yeah, 36-7.
You sound like you're trying to squeeze a deuce out or something, man. I just like that's T-Bone's voice. That was
Stupid
T-Bone.
People just bother me.
Whoa!
Sorry.
You can't.
Yeah,
you can't
it's
say
just too
that.
easy to get under his skin, man.
Man, don't put words in his mouth.
That's right.
Don't put words in his mouth. He doesn't like that.
If you missed any of the show, not sure about the context for what we're talking about
Or
here.
content. Oof.
Check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Shaver Door Company.
It's not at all what I sound like.
That's exactly what you sounded
Put
like.
the poll on Twitter. Hypothetical scenario. Dennis Gates wins 25 regular season games. Mizzou makes the NCAA tournament as a 4 or a 5 seed and then loses in the first round. Should he be fired? Your options, yes, gotta go, or no, that's absurd. So far,
I saw the first poll was Drank and Bielma.
I did too. I'm like, damn, how many polls you put out?
Mizzou guys just always
time
deflect to something else.
I'll get there.
You can't tell people what the votes are when there's 19 of them in.
Okay.
Give it an hour.
And then the second poll, again, at BK Sports Talk on Twitter. Which coach has been more successful at their current stop? Drink at Mizzou or Bielema at Illinois?
That one was an argument. That's not even worth it.
Well, T-Bone seemed to believe it, so we'll go ahead and throw that one out there as well.
I did not expect that segment to get you angry.
Mahomes long body. Why you got to call the listener stupid, bro? I was not. I was calling T-Bone stupid. But I
He's
do
targeting
apologize.
some of the people.
You said
some of the
these
people were going
stupid people.
after saying he should hold some more expectations on Mizzou.
It was unfair. I shouldn't have done that.
You
and I
said
apologize.
these-
So,
Stupid people.
Hey, you're gonna puff your chest out like that. You stick to calling me and some of the listeners stupid. Yeah. It's fruiting for you to do tricks.
Speaking of really dumb,
I don't think they eat fruit, man. I think they eat fish.
my dumb behind thought that the Brewers wouldn't be able to do it again.
Yep. I don't know why you're surprised by this. 3 straight years you do this, man.
I
T-Bone
know.
does it too.
I know. They just swept the Cubs, who I think most people seemed to believe were the best team in the division, and now they don't have a rotation. It's you, me, toothpicks, and bubblegum that are keeping that rotation together.
And they're relying on Michael Conforto to help carry their offense.
They were outscored in that series against the Brewers 19-5. Brewers pitching overwhelmed them. Brewers offense was just better than them, and that was at Wrigley, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
The Brewers on April 25th, so almost exactly 1 month ago, were 13-13. They are now 29-18. They've gone 16-5 since that moment, and they've done so while playing against the New York Yankees, the San Diego Padres, and the Chicago Cubs over the last couple of weeks, all of whom I would say are pretty damn good teams.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to take them seriously again and look at them as the threat, the biggest threat in the NL Central, Alex? Is that where we've arrived?
Yeah. I will no longer sit here and say that a team that continues to win the division can't get it done because of slow starts out of the gate. And I don't even know if Milwaukee started slow out of the gate. They had injuries at the beginning of the season. Their defense is incredible. Their pitching doesn't matter who they put in their rotation. They're going to find a way to make them great. And they're led by Mizorowski, who's incredible. And they've got guys that can contribute from top to bottom. So, yeah, I once again will continue to look at the Brewers as the team to beat. The Cubs are good. The Cubs have talent, but I just don't think they have what the Milwaukee Brewers have, and it's just an identity that teams can't knock down.
Yeah, I think if the Cubs could stay healthy, I think it's their division to lose. The problem, though, as you said, is they got a rotation of the three of us in this room right now because they're just all their guys are going down to injury. So I think it has pivoted right back to, it's the Milwaukee's division to beat. And the benefit of the doubt they get, and we haven't seen this from the Cubs, maybe they'll surprise us, but Cubs lose guys and you start to really see it when it comes to their pitching. Brewers lose guys, it's like, well, we have a guy that throws 100 that can start, and then we turn a guy that throws 90, a sinker baller, from a 5 ERA to a 1 ERA.
Dude, half their lineup was missing for the first month.
Yeah, they didn't have Andrew Vaughn pretty much the entire start to the season.
Christian Yelich missed time.
And I think that would catch up to them if those guys missed a lot of time. They didn't miss a ton, and as they've gotten
missed
back,
30 games.
Yeah.
That's
fair.
our fifth of the
Vaughn
season.
missed that much, too.
Yeah, that's fair. That's the one that I would feel like if Milwaukee started to lose some position
missed
players,
30 as well.
I would need to see.
Come on, man. This stupid team.
Yeah. I don't know why you do this, though, man. Every year you're like, well, they can't be this good.
Because I look at the lineup and I'm like, hold on, Bryce Terang? That's the guy?
Well, I think the thing that throws us off, too,
He's a star now. What?
It's a system, man. Their system works. It doesn't matter who you put in it. They will find ways to contribute.
But Bryce Terang's not supposed to do this.
He's done it for 3 straight years.
He was terrible 2 years ago.
Well, he's done it. Oh, they just showed the replay for
And
me
then
again.
last year, he's pretty good. Like, he hits 290 on the season, has a little bit of pop, and now he's Babe Ruth. He gets on base 40% of the time, and he's got an OPS of 900. What?
And he's got 7 home runs.
What?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't believe in them, is because I see Churio go down. I see Yelich go down, and I'm like, okay, so Frelick, Terang, Jake Bowers, these are the guys that I've got to worry about in their lineup. Well, I don't care about any of these dudes. They're all mediocre, and apparently they're not. One of them is a superstar who we've got to talk about as one of the best players in the National League again this
You're
year.
just jealous. We don't have guys like that.
We do, though. It's Jordan Walker, but come on. This is supposed to be
It's
our
only
year.
1 year of Jordan Walker, and it's 2 of Bryce Terang.
That's true. You're not wrong there.
Well, and the difference, look at their pitching pipeline compared to ours.
There's that.
Yeah.
Is PCA the most easily hateable player
Yes.
in recent NL Central division?
Yeah, probably since Niger Morgan with the Brewers.
Oh, I forgot about Niger
Phillips
Morgan.
with Reds is a really good one. Johnny Cueto, I think, was hated by a lot of people.
Is all of this, though, dating back to just the Yachty incident or the incident?
Well, Phillips and Cueto, yes, but Niger Morgan was. I mean, I hated Niger Morgan on that Milwaukee
He's
Brewers
kind
team.
of like PCA where it was, had the attitude. He didn't have the offense /
Braun
glove.
Was this for different reasons?
I don't know if I hated Braun.
Really?
I didn't.
I hated Braun, but that was
I didn't really
different reasons.
hate Braun. I mean, I hated that team because they were so good, but I didn't hate Braun. I'm trying to think of the last person that I despised on the Cubs team.
Zambrano.
Yeah,
I didn't like
People
Zambrano.
disliked Chris Bryant
because of the
comments. Man, okay.
God, we need to stop working together, man.
I forgot about
Bryant
the
would have
Bryant.
been
That's a
that.
good one.
I don't think people really hated Contreras even before he got here.
Baez. I hated Baez.
Oh.
Yeah, Javi Baez had that to him.
I liked Baez.
He had that showmanship that was just so annoying.
I am not surprised one bit. You're a
Everything about you.
Baez fan.
Everything about you, man.
I really liked Baez.
No, you don't hate anybody from the Pirates because they're just
No, I was
bad.
trying to think of a pirate. There's not a pirate to really hate in my
Marshy
opinion.
In fact, I liked most of the Pirates.
Yeah.
I liked Andrew McCutcheon.
Yeah.
I liked Marte. Who was their second baseman?
Harrison.
Yeah, I liked Josh Harrison. I liked their team. Their pitching staff was fun. AJ
Burnett.
I want to say Burrell. That was the
was
hitter
it
with the
Volquez? As
Phillies.
Volquez was a righty in that.
Yeah, Marshy
they
just
were
texted
fun.
and said Aramis Ramirez. I liked Aramis. I got a soft spot for third baseman, man. I
did
like
too.
third baseman.
And he was a pirate at one point.
Is there a Brewer that immediately comes to
Niger
mind?
Morgan.
Morgan would be the one for me.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else?
Braun.
Yeah, I didn't hate Braun. I liked Prince Fielder.
I can't think of any pitchers that I would have disliked.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little Lorenzo Cain, but I liked Lorenzo Cain from the Kansas City Royals.
I loved Lorenzo Cain. Come on.
We know you're a Royals fan, truly.
I was about to be like, no, I love Lawrence. Okay, and I was like, yeah.
I don't think Niger Morgan was the only one that I really despised from that Brewers team.
I think PCA is one of those guys, and I love it because it's great for this rivalry. He is so easy to dislike. Super punchable face.
Yes.
And I say that as somebody that also has a super punchable face.
Yes.
Easy. And
his doesn't have.
You called me stupid earlier. Come on.
His doesn't have.
Unfair.
His doesnn't have a target though. Like
You
PK's
don't
is.
face after that. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, no, that's fair, accurate.
I just don't know why
all of the
you
above.
immediately resort to name calling. You know.
It wasn't immediate.
I need
It was
to talk
after
to you.
17 minutes.
I need to
of
talk to you like talk to my
conversation.
5-year-old. Like it's not okay to call people poop heads.
You're right.
You know,
and
it's
I
not
did
okay.
apologize. Took me a second, but I did apologize.
Stupid is a buzzword in my house. They can drop the F-bomb, but they can't say stupid in my house.
Yeah.
Says a little bit about my parenting skills.
Shut up, another one. Can't say that.
Yeah, well, they don't know shut up because we don't say that much. Katie and I, stupid is like another adjective for us in our home.
I love the fact that the Cubs have one of those guys on their roster that you look at him and you're like, I just don't like him.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar. You see this more, I think, in hockey. Honestly, I think it's more of a Blues thing where there are guys on the opposition that you're just, I really actively dislike that
And
guy.
it's because of the physicality that comes with it.
100%.
The more
You don't have that in baseball as often. But with PCA, the comments that he had the other night, it's just, come on. And then you see the way that he plays, the style that he plays. He's either making unbelievable plays or what he did yesterday where he misplays a ball by, I think, just trying to look cool.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's all it was. He just wanted to look cool while he was trying to make the play.
Center fielders, man.
Ball goes underneath his glove, traces it back to the wall, and it becomes an inside the park home run, similar to the Tatis one.
Similar to the Fermin.
No, that was very different. And when you see stuff like that, you're just like, man, I'm glad that happened to you. Couldn't have happened to a worse guy.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it, too, is that's not just like a division or like a Cardinals-Cubs thing. I think Major League Baseball teams don't like PCA.
Absolutely.
And a lot of it is because of that video that surfaced a couple of games ago. That just amplified more as to what he was last year. But it's rare you get guys that all of Major League Baseball dislike. Like Brad Marchand is that in hockey. Every team hates that guy. It doesn't matter if you play him once or play him 4 times.
Yet every team would love that guy on their team.
And
that's the
PCA is
same
not
with
that.
PCA.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, I think every team would sign up a guy that can play Gold Glove level defense in center. That's got decent pop from the left side. I think about every team in baseball would take him.
I'd take him.
Yeah.
If you told me right now you can flip
I couldn't root
Victor
for that guy.
Scott for PCA in center field, like change nothing else. Just you flip those two guys,
I would
I'd make
never.
the deal. And I do that with as somebody that really likes Victor Scott as a person.
I would never.
I think he's got a great personality. Meanwhile, I don't like PCA a whole lot at all.
I can't root
I
for
think
that
that's
guy.
such an upgrade that I would make that deal in a heartbeat.
I can't root for that guy.
I think you say that till you see it.
No, I can't root for him.
I would think the same thing about Marchand or Tom Wilson. And then when they'd be on my team, I'd go, I love that guy.
Drunk Drawers next year on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Time to dive into the junk drawer. Quick update on the Cardinals game. Ivan Herrera, who we said earlier, has not hit for a whole lot of power so far in this month. Hit for power. He hit a home run a little bit ago. Cardinals tied at 1 in the bottom of the third inning. Burleson followed that up with a double, and now Jordan Walker is up. We'll keep you updated with anything that happens there. Again, tied at 1 in the bottom of the third inning against the Pirates. Do want to mention this real quick. Alex, they just showed what the outfield looks like, where they have the tarps off terrace situation. It's still going in the middle of the week in a game against the Pittsburgh Pirates at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, when it's like 70 degrees outside.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Kudos to all of you that have made this what it's become. What a cool area for the St. Louis Cardinals. Kudos to them for embracing it, putting that in, making that into a general admission area. Kudos to Cardinals fans that started it. Kudos to anybody else that's a part of it right now. And maybe my favorite part, we were talking about this during the break, it's really young dudes primarily that are in this.
Yeah.
Like, I would say the prime demographic for this is like 16 to 25-year-olds that are hanging out in the outfield, in the bleachers, cheering their asses off, many of them enjoying a cold one. Good for them.
Like, we talked about this yesterday, where it's like, man, you were targeting the perfect audience for your team and for this brand. It's young people that have nothing to do when school is out. Like, think back to your first year or second year at college, and I can do this because at Lindenwood, it's local. Like, once school was done, you had nothing to do. It was like, well, what do you do with yourself? You sit at home, you got your jobs. Now you got $15 Cardinal tickets to just go to a game for 3 hours, have fun, eat cheap hot dogs and drink cheap beer or cheap soda, whatever age you are, and go with your friends. Like, it's the perfect thing to do in the summertime that can sustain if the team continues to have success, because there's nothing else to do, and this is a cheap brand of fun that you can have something to get out and enjoy.
Yeah, good on everybody for making this into what it's become. It's been a lot of fun so far, and today they're getting after it once again out there. Just wanted to give kudos to everybody that's been a part of this. All right, coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll play a game of Believe It or Not. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. But next, is it time for the Cardinals to get more aggressive on the base paths? T-Bone saw something earlier today that made him wonder. We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. You mad, Alex?
I think I'm done with Pedro Pajes. I think I'm going to get on Marshy's bandwagon and just be done with it altogether.
What happened, man?
Well, he can't throw guys out at second base. He threw it wide to the second baseman on a stolen base, and then he had an opportunity to score some runs, and you know what he did? He grounded out to the first baseman. You know who wouldn't do that? Jimmy Crooks.
Wow.
I don't know that to be true.
But you want to try.
I just want Jimmy Crooks. Somebody said earlier, so I'm glad I'm watching on YouTube to know why Alex is making those noises. It's very important. Very important.
Okay. So the Cardinals just allowed a stolen base. T-Bone is of the opinion that they should get more aggressive on the base paths. Now, T-Bone, you read a piece earlier today over on The Athletic describing how teams have gotten more aggressive since the pitch clock was implemented, and it's allowing everybody, basically, if they want to become a 30 stolen base guy across Major League Baseball. We saw this last year where one of the slowest players in all of Major League Baseball, what did he steal? 30
Josh
bags?
Naylor?
Josh Naylor?
It was 30 in like 60 days or something like that.
Insane. An absolutely insane feat. And now he's just become a guy that's a legit threat on the base paths because he's smart. He just knows how to take advantage of opposing pitchers. He's already up to 12 so far this year as well in 48 games. What do you think the Cardinals should do here, T-Bone? How do they get more aggressive on the base paths if that's something they're interested in doing?
Well, they've got the roster, in my opinion, to do it this time around, right? Like, I look back when I read this article, and it's a great read on The Athletic. I read this article and went, okay, every year I feel like we go into spring training and I hear the same story from the Cardinals of, we're going to get more aggressive on the base paths. This is the year. We're going to do it. And then they do it for a month and then it just goes away. And that's how it's ranked. They're 22nd in baseball since the bases have increased and the pitch clock has come into Major League Baseball in 2023. But, you know, as we were talking in the office today, you know, some of those rosters couldn't really do that. They weren't really built for that. This year's roster should be more capable. I mean, look at them. They're first in extra bases taken so far on the season. So they should be more capable of stealing more bags. Yet you look at their numbers this season and they're 19th. They're almost bottom 10 in baseball. And I don't know why exactly that is, because anytime you hear them talk, they say, hey, we want to be more aggressive on the base paths. And then you hear them always talk about on the broadcast about, oh, Stubby Clapp and the coaching staff always do a great job on getting tells on these pitchers. And then I look at the numbers and go, well, they're not running, and I don't know why. While the rest of the NL Central is ultra aggressive on the base paths, and for a team that may not slug like they did early on in the first month, I think this is a way of helping prop that up as that starts to drop down.
Let's try to get through this. So who would you say are the best base stealers on this team? The guys that should be the best at that?
Weatherholt, Scott.
So let's go one by one. You mentioned Weatherholt. He has 6 so far on the season. He's getting on base at a really high clip. Here's the thing. Do you want him attempting to steal second when coming up after him is Ivan Herrera, Alec Burleson, Jordan Walker?
Yeah.
Yeah. If he can be successful with it, which I think he can with his speed, it puts yourself in prime position to score runs quick.
And the other thing, too, that I would trust, that they've done at times, not a ton, I'd love to do the hit and run with Herrera. He's so good at it. And they've done it a couple of times where Weatherholt takes off and he shoots it the other way, and now you have first and third. So, yes, my answer to that would be I understand the risk. I think the reward is worth it.
And he only has 2 steals this month. Maybe that's one guy that you could pinpoint and say, all right, Weatherholt. We need more out of him when it comes to the stolen base opportunities. And part of why he doesn't have as many this month might be because he's not getting on base at the same clip this month. Mm-hmm. But overall, okay, cool. JJ Weatherholt, that's somebody you can expect more of. He's already on pace this season for like 20-ish, somewhere around there. So maybe he could be in that 30 range is what you're hoping by the end of the year. Okay, the next guy that you think should be stealing more than what he has so far this season.
Who'd you say first, Scott?
I said Scott, but I mean, if you're just going to go...
We know the problem on that one.
Yeah, and
He's not getting on base. He's got a 245 on base percentage so far this season.
I would go Walker.
I agree with that.
Walker has 7 stolen bases this year. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. He's first on the team, I think, right?
He leads the team in stolen bases so far this season. He is on pace right now for like 30 over the course of the year. I don't know that I can expect a whole lot more than that out of Jordan Walker. Do you guys disagree?
I mean, I think he's got the ability for how fast he is and how big he is. I think he's got the ability to steal closer to 40.
I just don't know how much of that wear and tear I want to put on him.
It's
like where
fair.
I think 30 feels like a pretty good number for him. I understand if anybody would argue what Alex is, where you're saying, hey, that bottom of the order is coming up. You're going to need every inch that you can get, and him getting over to second on his own helps you to potentially drive him in. I get the argument against what I'm saying, but
yeah.
It just hurt. It literally hurts to dive into second base as often as he would have to if you're going to steal 40-plus bags.
Not if you're as good as Naylor. He never slides into second base.
Maybe you start diving on your booty. It doesn't hurt as much. A little bit more meat there.
Anybody else that you guys would throw into this category of, like, they should be one of your best base stealers?
There's two for me. One of them I understand.
For me?
No, two for me.
Like, whoa.
There's two for me. And one of them, I get it because it's the same thing with Scott, but it would be Church. Church has got 4 stolen bases. If he can get that on base up there a little bit more, he's another guy that should be able to take more bags.
Agreed.
And then the other one would be Mason Wynn. Wynn's got the on base. It's not as high as you would like for like a leadoff guy, but he's got a 324 on base. I would like to see him get a little bit more aggressive on the bases.
His is the name that I circled. Because Church doesn't have the on-base percentage, 285 on base. It's the same issue that you're seeing from Victor Scott right now. If you get on base more and you're standing on first, got an opportunity to steal with that guy. I want him to be hyper-aggressive. Just go. Same thing with Victor Scott. You're on. You got less than 2 outs? Go. Honestly, with Vic, even if you got 2 outs, just go. I don't care if you're making that third out at second base sometimes. I know when he's up, if he's on, that means you're going to J.J. Weatherholt. That makes it a little tougher to argue for that. But, yeah, that guy should be super aggressive. Mason Wynn is on base enough to where I do think he's a guy that I would expect more. And if he's not going to take that next step as a hitter, and he might not, especially this season, I want him to artificially create some of that slug. This is something that the Brewers have done a really good job of in recent seasons, is they're not a team that slugs for a whole lot of pop, but their guys get into scoring position on their own a whole hell of a lot. So far this season, they have 55 stolen bases on the year. It allows for them to create more opportunities with runners in scoring position, and I think that's something that you'd like to see more of from a guy like Mason Wynn. Yeah. Get yourself over, get yourself on, get yourself over, and then we can drive you in.
I think anybody that has got a decent on-base percentage, once you get past Jordan Walker's spot in the order, needs to look at being aggressive, because that area of the lineup is just not good offensively for you. Give yourself the prime position to score some runs with those guys and put a little bit more pressure on the opposition, because there's just no pressure once you get past the top 4 in your batting order.
Slight audible in 15 minutes. We'll get into Believe It or Not, but coming up next, our first edition of Frank Seravalli's trade board has officially been released. Who's on it? What Blues players are on it? We'll get into that coming up next here on 101 ESPN. Gator over on the YouTube chat said it's time for a fantasy trade segment. Migrating Coconuts responded, it's time to play a game of Frank makes trades with himself.
Sorry, Pajes did his job, got the runner in scoring position to score.
He did not. For anybody not watching the game, that's not what happened. Pajes grounded out, and the inning has come to its conclusion. Cardinals down 2-1 at the end of 4. So Frank Seravalli has a new website, Hockey 24/7. Alex, that's where he's working now. And he put out his first off-season trade board of the year.
Oh, baby. It's off-season time, baby.
He has 25 different names on this list. I don't feel the need to break down each and every one of them, so we'll go through this 2 ways.
I thought you were going to do a Tinder Thursday.
No. We'll start out with players that play for the St. Louis Blues that made an appearance. There are a few of them. And 2, we'll go with guys that are under the age of 30, because I don't think they're trading for Morgan Riley, the left-handed defenseman from the Toronto Maple Leafs, who's at number 1 on this board. He's 32 years old. Doesn't really fit in with what they're trying to build here in St. Louis.
I don't know. Left-handed defenseman. He can score some points. No, you're right.
Yeah, he's 32. Probably not the kind of player that they're going to be looking at. So we'll go through some of the players under the age of 30 that made this list after we talk about the Blues on here. So the Blues on the list include Jordan Kyrou, number 2 on Frank Seravalli's initial trade board of the offseason.
But why do you guys keep trying to trade Jordan Kyrou? This is why, because he keeps showing up on lists like this.
For good reason.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to make the Alex Ferrario voice for you.
Okay.
Jordan Binnington at number 4 on the trade board. But why would the Blues even consider trading Jordan Binnington? Why do you want to keep talking about this, BK?
It's pretty good.
This is good.
Because
deep.
of this.
Deep.
Because NHL insiders sure seem to believe he's out there.
I mean, I can't argue it anymore. I've come to terms with the fact that there's a chance. I don't think... Binnington feels a lot like Kyrou, to where they value him more than what the NHL values him. And that's why, like Kyrou, I can see it because this free agent class is trash. The Blues, I can't see it because teams just don't want to pay for goaltenders.
If you get somebody to bite and you get a real return for Jordan Binnington, I think it makes a ton of sense to trade him this offseason.
I think I'm warming up to it more because of other guys on this list, and we could talk about that once we get to it.
I've told you in the past, I think it's easier to see the alternative to Jordan Binnington. Like, if you need a guy that can come in and have an 890-plus save percentage, those guys are a dime a dozen. The Blues have shown in the past they have the ability to either develop or sign a capable backup. It's probably not going to make you feel as good as Jordan Binnington would if he was your backup next year, but you also have to understand it comes with the ability to get something in return for Jordan Binnington. So it's that new backup plus whatever you get for Jordan Binnington versus Jordan Binnington, and whatever it is that you decide to do with the cap savings of $6 million that you have compared to whatever it is that you spend on your new goalie. So I don't think it's crazy to think that he could be traded this offseason. But I also am of the belief, as you are, Alex, that I don't think anybody's necessarily going to meet the asking price because you just so rarely see goalies dealt in the league.
And there's 2 young goalies on this list, too. Sebastian Casa from the Detroit Red Wings and Devin Levi from the Buffalo Sabres, who they've got like 4 goaltenders on their list right now. And Levi spent the majority of this season in the American Hockey League. If you can do 2 things at once here, where you can acquire one of these younger goalies that you see upside with, that's ready for the NHL, that can be a backup, and still get a decent return for Jordan Binnington, then it makes sense for the Blues. I mean, I'm not dumb and naive to say that timeline-wise it makes sense. I just think that if you're giving me the option of trading Jordan Binnington and going to this free agent market, I don't want to overpay for a goaltender that's not going to be good versus just keeping a guy where I'm getting a 3rd-round draft pick in return.
So the other 2 Blues on this list are the 2 guys that were most discussed at this year's trade deadline. That's Robert Thomas at number 13 and Colton Parayko at number 18. makes sense to have them on the board given how much speculation there was about both of them at this year's deadline, where Parayko was literally asked to waive his no-trade clause and ultimately decided not to. And Thomas, it felt like at one point there was a real chance he was going to be dealt by the Blues, and obviously they never officially came to terms there.
Yeah,
I don't think either of them is ultimately going to be traded, though.
I don't either, and I would rank this to where if you're putting these guys on there, Parayko would be in Thomas's spot and Thomas would be in Parayko's spot. And I don't think they rank these in any order of like most likely versus least likely. Maybe he did, but I think there's a better chance Parayko was traded versus Robert Thomas. They just don't have a number one center in their organization. And you know, I think if Utah comes back to the table this offseason and tells the Blues, look, we'll strike the deal that we almost had done, where it was Denoyer, Tizhaginla, and Dmitry Simashev, then I could see the Blues really considering that, because that's just a deal that long-term makes sense. But I don't see it happening with Robert Thomas.
Let's go through the under 30-year-olds on this list. Those are the players that the Blues could trade. These are the players that the Blues could acquire. Let's start out with Jake DeBrusk, Alex, 29 years old from Vancouver on a $5.5 million contract with 5 years remaining. Any interest in the 29-year-old winger?
Nope. 4 years ago, I had interest. Not anymore.
Cool. Sebastian Casa, a 23-year-old goalie, is at number 6 on this list from the Detroit Red Wings. He has RFA status, not a ton of NHL experience. Is that a player that you would be interested in for your St. Louis Blues?
Yeah, I absolutely would. This guy was a first-round draft pick. This guy has a ton of success in the American Hockey League. He's actually currently still playing with the Grand Rapids Griffins, who are in the AHL playoffs right now. This is a 23-year-old goaltender who is 6'7", 220 pounds.
Damn.
So this is a guy that I believe is ready for the NHL. It's just there's still going to be a lot of grooming that takes place with this. I don't know what this would cost. I'm not going to get overly aggressive for it, but you need another goalie in your system. This Romanov has played really well for the minor league team, but I think you need a guy that could be at the NHL level. And if you're considering moving Binnington, yeah, I would call up Detroit and see about acquiring this guy.
Got to tell you, don't know anything about him. Sounds good, though. Kent Johnson is the next name on this list, a 23-year-old winger from the Columbus Blue Jackets, former top 5 overall selection.
Yep.
This past season had 7 goals and 22 points in 75 games, Alex. Has been playing a decent amount of wing so far in his career for the Columbus Blue Jackets, but is listed as a centerman. Is that somebody you would be interested in?
Man, originally I was. I would trust the scouting department on this. If he's a centerman, I would take a chance on this because they had another young player that fell out of favor with the coaching staff, Chinikov, who went on to be really good for Pittsburgh. But if he's not a centerman, no, I'm not having any interest in this. And they would tell you that he's not a centerman because they haven't used him in that position all of his career.
All right, another goalie on the list, Sam Montembeau. How'd I do?
Where was the R that you created? Know. Yeah, Montembeau. That's a good one. I would not have interest in this.
He's going to be 30 years old next year, 29 right now, played for Montreal.
No.
Backup.
No, this one doesn't fall into the same line as Casa or Devin Levi when we get to him, because this is a goaltender who is kind of this is a goaltender that's probably looking for number 1 opportunities, and I don't think he's a number 1. And he's going to get paid a decent amount of money because he has that NHL experience. So, no, I would pass on this one.
We're breaking down Frank Seravalli's early trade list for this offseason in the NHL. Seravalli, one of the top insiders in the game. These are guys that he thinks could be available this offseason. We're looking at all of the players on the list under the age of 30 who could fit the Blues, theoretically at least. Shane Wright is at number 14 on this list. We've mentioned his name a million times here on the show. We don't have to spend too much time on him. I'm still of the belief that the cost would be something that would probably take me out of the conversation.
Yeah.
But just in general, would I be interested in adding Shane Wright to the Blues? Sure. It all kind of depends on the cost to me, though.
I would trade Kyrou for him, and that's the only thing I would trade for him.
And I would not do that because I think you could get something different for Kyrou.
I would go upside there, and I think Kyrou could get you something that's a top pick that could have some success. But if I'm talking about my younger pieces or draft picks, I'm not trading that.
The next player on this list, though, is more interesting to me, and that's Mason McTavish, a 23-year-old centerman from the Anaheim Ducks. It appears that he really could be available this offseason, Alex, and that is a player that I would be interested in.
I would too. My concern about this is anytime they're on a team with a guy and a coach who has a ton of success, who doesn't see him as valuable for a team that's trying to win, it makes me a little skeptical. Now, I don't think there's been any bad blood between the Ducks and McTavish. I know there was some contract dispute last year that he finally signed his extension with. If the personality matches what you want, I think this guy's got a lot of David Backes in him, to where he's big, he's a centerman, he drives to the front of the net. I don't know how much of an actual centerman he is, but if you can get a few years out of it and then convert him to wing, it would make sense. This one I would be much more interested in than Shane Wright or Kent Johnson.
There are two other young, former first-round centermen who are potentially going to be on the move this offseason. One, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who's been in the trade conversations for like a decade now, it feels like.
Yeah, there's a reason. He's not very good. No interest.
Okay, cool. The other one is Morgan Frost, 27 years old, former first-round pick, previously with Philadelphia, now with Calgary, was dealt last year at the trade deadline. Had a 20-goal season this year for Calgary. Somebody's got to score some goals for him. Kind of a middle six center, really good on the face-off dot. Is he somebody you would have interest in?
No, because I don't think he's better than Dalibor Dvorsky or Pius Suter, so I would just keep those guys as my center and move on.
I would have a little bit of interest in Morgan Frost.
I had interest in Morgan Frost before he was traded to Calgary. When he was with Philadelphia, and I think he was 25, and they traded him, that was like, oh, yeah, that would make sense for the Blues to go get this guy. I think I've seen enough of what Morgan Frost is, and I think you said it best. He's a middle six center, and I think Dalibor Dvorsky's better and has more upside. Same with Pius Suter.
I'm not sure they view Pius Suter as a center.
I'm not either, but I think
if they don't,
but I think long-term Morgan Frost isn't the answer either. So I think the third-line center that Pius Suter is holding is just going to be a placeholder for whomever you draft.
What kind of value do you think Morgan Frost has right now?
Well, he was traded for a first-round pick, second-round pick from the Philadelphia Flyers. We double-check that. Yeah, he was traded a second-round pick and a seventh-round pick. So probably a second-round pick. He was also traded for two young forwards, Pelletier and Andrei Kuzmenko.
They got Pelletier then?
Not that Pelletier.
Oh, okay.
I would say you're probably giving up a second-round pick for him, and you don't have a second-round pick.
I'd give up 31 for him.
Oh, I would not do that. I would not do that. I would package 31 with 15 and go get a better player. Or package 31 with Kyrou and get a better player.
I think I'd give up 31 for Morgan Frost. The reason being, I think he could come in and legitimately provide that second or third line center production that you've been lacking over the last couple of seasons. You could then turn around and trade one of Kyrou or, honestly, Pius Suter for something else, and I think you've made your roster a lot better, and you're stronger down the middle than what you were previously. Now, Morgan Frost is kind of a placeholder here. It doesn't have to be him specifically, but I'm open to the idea of the Blues going out and acquiring somebody in their mid-20s to come in and help you down the middle, because I don't think you have somebody for that spot right now.
Yeah, 27 is just, I feel like if the timeline of where the Blues are at, that's just not in the same scope of it. Like if he was 25, I'd had a different conversation. It's why I'd be more interested in Kent Johnson, even if he's not a centerman, if they believe they can make him a center. I just think you're looking at the 22 goals that he just scored with Calgary and saying, oh, he's a 20-goal scorer. He had never been a 20-goal scorer with the Philadelphia Flyers. And I think, like you said, somebody's got to do it in Calgary. When you're used as the number one guy on the power play and penalty kill in every scenario, you're going to get those chances. I don't think he's that. I think Pius Suter could put up better numbers than him on the Blues.
Maybe, but is he a center? And that's what I keep going back to.
Pius is a good center. They just used him on the wing because they needed help in that spot.
They used Pavel Buchnevich over him in the center position.
I think they assumed they could get better production from Pavel Buchnevich.
But eventually we knew they couldn't. So
I don't think this was about Pius Suter not performing at the center position. I think this was about we need to find a way to get Pavel Buchnevich with more offense. And it worked there for about 3 weeks because that line of Buchnevich, Kyrou, and Neighbors was really good. And then it fizzled out and they realized it. And Pius Suter went back to being the center.
I hear you, but they didn't use him at the center position for a decent amount of time this season. And if they want size down the middle, they think, hey, Pius Suter does not have the size that we're looking for here, and we would like to cash in on that asset. We're going money in, money out. It's basically even in terms of the money for Frost versus Pius Suter. I think Frost would be an upgrade for the St. Louis Blues down the middle compared to what they had a year ago. He's really good on the faceoff dot. And he's a guy that could legitimately come in and score 15 to 20 goals for you. And he's got a little bit of an assist game as well. I would be interested in this. And I just don't value that late first round pick all that highly. So if this is the best asset that you could get with it, I think Morgan Frost as a first round selection that late in the draft is a perfectly adequate way to go about things for me. But I think there's a lot of people that would disagree with that because it is a 1-year contract. It would probably be better if he had 2 or 3 years left on term for this year. All right, coming up next, time for Believe It or Not here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. The Cardinals currently in action in the rubber match of their 3-game set against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They currently trail 2-1 in the top of the 6th inning. We'll keep you updated on the Cardinals score throughout the day today here on 101 ESPN. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows. I'm not feeling good about the Cardinals, but
I'm not either.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so
free.
Flying away on a wing and a prayer.
Who could it be?
Believe it or not, it's just me.
314-399-9646 is
flying
the
away like
text
Walker.
line for Believe It or
Was
Not.
there not anything more majestic than that flying away line as we saw Walker in slow-mo miss that catch?
Walker legitimately tried to fly like angels in the outfield to that
It
ball.
was like that was beautiful.
Yeah, it would have been if he caught it.
He was really trying, though.
Is that what matters? Fermin was trying, and
That's what we tell Luca. What matters is that you try and you have fun, bud. And by the time you get to the pros, it's about results, and that was not a result.
That's why he hits you with his bat.
So, Cardinals down 2-1. They've got 2 on, 1 out in the top of the 6th inning. It's been a really good game so far by Dustin May, hoping to secure yet another quality start. All he's got to do is get out of this inning with 1 earned run or fewer allowed. He does that. Another quality start for Dustin May. All right, boys, believe it or not, by the end of the season, Ivan Herrera will get to at least 25 home runs. It's at 6 now so far on the season.
I'll say not believe it. I don't know if the power will get there all season, and I got to imagine the wear and tear will continue with him. So I'll say not. I think he gets to like 22.
What did he do last year? Because I think he would have been on pace to get there, right? He missed.
I was about to say, you got to remember, he only had 107
Yeah.
games. He had 19 last year.
Which is the wear and tear that I'd be worried about.
I'll believe it. I think he can get to 25 this year, as long as he stays healthy. I don't know that he can get to 30. When we had the conversation, I don't remember who we were comparing. Comparing this team to the 2022 Cardinals. That team had 230 home run hitters. I don't know that this team's got that, but I think Carrera can get to 25.
I think Carrera will get to 25 in the end. I'll believe this. That's where I think he finishes. It will not be a quality starts today by Dustin May because the Pirates just scored 2 more runs. Alex?
Believe it or not, guys, by the end of the season, the Blues will have figured out their second-line center position.
Not. I think that it will take more than a year for Dalibor Dvorsky to establish himself in that way.
That's not the only option, though, Brandon.
I would say not as well, though. I was thinking other options, but I think I'm with BK. If it's going to be Dvorsky, I think it's going to take more time. And then I don't see them moving up in the draft, which I'm sure is one of the options you were considering. I don't think they're going to draft a center that'll be ready to go. And then I don't think they're trading for a number 2 center that's going to be acquired and then solidifies himself in that spot, so I'm not going to believe it.
I know Alex is in favor of them trading for Morgan Frost, and he thinks that's the next center for them to be their second line center.
No, that was a stupid idea, as you would like to say earlier in the show when you called Tanner
very
stupid.
aggressive with your tone lately.
I'll say believe it because the options that are there, I was thinking not so much trading up in the draft, but we didn't get to it yesterday, but the amount of hype that right now is on this Vijay Bork, who's playing in the Worlds, there's talk of him being ready to play in the NHL this upcoming season. He's tiny. He's 5'9", 170 pounds. Perfect. Craig Button called him the next Nick Suzuki. I would say the next Braden Point, because Braden Point's 5'10" and 170 pounds. But I'll say believe it. I say by the end of this season, they know who their second-line center is.
Guys, believe it or not, we will see the Cardinals option Thomas Saggese before they option Matt Svanson.
I think there's a chance both of them get optioned.
I was going to say not believe it because I think they both go.
I think this time tomorrow we might be doing some kind of announcement of, hey, Cardinals have made a couple of roster moves. Thomas Saggese,
Fernandez and Torres.
Svanson go down. Torres and Fernandez are coming up.
Yeah, I'll say no. I think they both go down at the same time.
See, I believe this. I think if they're making a roster move tomorrow, I believe it's only going to be one.
Oh,
and I think it would be
Graceffo's coming in.
I think it would be Sajasi. I think if you were going to do a bullpen one, you would have done it today. I mean, he just pitched. Now he's technically a fresh arm. And the other thing, like BK mentioned, I don't know if he said this on air or off air, but the underlying numbers for Fernandez are not great at AAA. Correct. So that might be their hesitation to bring him up. I think if they do a move, it's going to be just Torres for Sajasi.
What a bummer of a finish for Dustin May. Mm-hmm. So honestly, so similar to what happened with Matthew Liberatore the other day, where Libby was awesome through the first 4 innings, gets into the 5th, and it's like, whoa, what happened, bro? You were amazing. You were striking everybody out. Stuff looked as good as I've ever seen it from Matthew Liberatore, and then it's just gone. Same kind of thing happened here in the 6th inning for Dustin May. 103-mile-an-hour double off the bat, 63% chance of being a hit. It was a hit. 100-mile-an-hour single against Marcell Ozuna, big-time expected numbers, and then a 95-mile-an-hour single as well. 3 hits, a few runs, Pirates up 4-1. 1 out in the top of the 6th inning. Cardinals going to the bullpen right now. What a bummer of a finish for Dustin May and what looked like it was going to be another really good start by him. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. From the 314, Believe It or Not, BK just BKO'd a quality start for Dustin May.
Believe it.
I believe it.
Always works, man. Always works.
I think I kind of did that too because I walked in during the break and said, hey, he's going to get another quality start and lose.
Believe it or not, from the 314, the Cardinals will make the playoffs this year.
I'll say believe it.
I'm still saying not because I think the National League is starting to come up around them, but I think they're a fun team that's going to be in it, and that's a win for this season.
I think it's going to be them or the Cubs. It just comes down to who reigns supreme in that battle.
I think Atlanta and Philly are making it from the East. I think the Dodgers and the Padres are making it from the West. I think the Brewers are going to make it from the Central, and then it just becomes a question of who's the other team that I have not mentioned yet. And you've got the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, Pirates, Reds, a bunch of different teams that are kind of all in this conversation.
Yeah, I'm going to lean not believe it, but I think it's close because I don't really buy the Padres. I know what they're doing. They're not hitting, and like you look at their rotation, it's very flimsy. It's the bullpen that's carrying them. Start to deal with injuries there. They could fall out of it. I'll say not just because they're such a big field.
Believe it or not, Walker will lead the Cardinals in home runs, RBIs, and stolen bases this season.
I'll say not believe it with the stolen bases. I wonder if Weatherholt gets in front of him on that spot.
Same. I don't know if it's Weatherholt, but somebody else will end up leading the team in stolen bases this year.
I think 30 homers, 100-plus ribbies, 30-plus stolen bags, and I think 30-plus will lead the team.
My goodness, T-Bone.
If he does that, he's in the MVP conversation.
Yeah.
30, 30, and 100, those are MVP consideration.
And an all-star.
That'll be top.
He won't win it because
be top 5.
Nobody in the National League other than Shohei Ohtani is eligible. But
yeah.
I feel like this year they should actually have a separate vote for the second place in the MVP. Like, we have the Shohei Award, and then the MVP is for somebody else.
Yeah, they should just say, hey, Shohei, you said you wanted to focus on pitching this year and win a Cy Young, so we're not going to vote for you for MVP.
Kind of like the Norris Trophy when we're giving it to the best offensive defenseman. We should make 2 awards.
Coming up next, time for the Rewind here on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's BK, and it is time for you to unlock your inner champion. You know there's one place to do that, and it's with Victory Men's Health. They are my friends. They can help you out as well. Each and every month, I get a new package of supplements sent to my house by the fine folks over at Victory Men's Health. They put together a plan for me. I went in for a consultation, found out where all of my levels were at, and then they were able to tell me, this is where you're low, this is where you're where you want to be. And I told them a little bit about what I needed, where I'm at in my life, what are my plans, am I planning to have another kid? Am I going to the gym? What are the things that I want to do that can unlock, for me, my inner champion? They'll do the same thing for you. It means different things for different people. So check them out today. Go online to victorymenshealth.com. That's where you book your first appointment. It's a super easy process, and then you will go into one of their 4 great locations across the St. Louis area. Whether it's low testosterone, weight loss goals, sexual health, you want to learn more about their red light therapy programs, cardiovascular testing, anything, maybe their vitamin infusions. It's all available for you today at Victory Men's Health and online at victorymenshealth.com. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
You can check out the YouTube page as well at youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. That is where you can see the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast. Guys, recorded yesterday with Chris Kerber. We will have a new edition of the Redbird Report later on this afternoon as well. So be sure to check that out. youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. Cardinals losing right now against the Pittsburgh Pirates in the rubber match of this series. It is a 4-1 score at the end of the 6th inning, which is fine because this is typically when the Cardinals wake up offensively anyway. So I'm sure everything will be A-okay.
Tarps off crowd's going to pull them back into it once you hit the 9th.
Yeah, it'll be...
Unless you give up like 7 runs in the 8th inning like last night.
It'll be just fine.
Svanson's down today.
Chris Effo's on the mound. It's not happening.
Update on our polls at BK Sports Talk over on the Twitter
T-Bone
sphere. Hypothetical scenario. Dennis Gates wins 25 regular season games. Mizzou makes it to the NCAA tournament as a 4 or a 5 seed, and the Tigers lose in the first round of the tournament. Should Dennis Gates be fired in this scenario? 59% of the responses say no. That's absurd.
Well, you also didn't put the most important piece in that poll, an all-in season. You called it an all-in season for Dennis Gates.
41% of them say yes, he should be fired, which is higher than I would have expected. So, T-Bone, fair. Touche, sir. Also, which coach has been more successful at their current stop? Drink at Mizzou, Bielema at Illinois?
To break this one to you, T-Bone.
83% of the responses say Drinkwitz at Mizzou.
To be fair, he's got a
Coming from-
Mizzou
yeah, I was
leaning
gonna say,
crowd
it's
that
a
follows
Mizzou
him.
crowd.
I quote tweeted and said, please vote for Bielema just to piss off BK.
Well, that
and
doesn't
apparently
work,
those
man.
votes haven't shown up yet. So
Apparently
they're coming.
his Twitter followers don't like seeing him angry.
That is correct.
I'm
I'm actually not sure that's true. I think there's a decent portion of our listening audience and my Twitter following that would love nothing more than for me to be upset.
It's true, man.
Because if that was like,
Hell, I would consider both of you to be friends.
Oh, yeah, no, I
And
like
you
seeing
guys
you in pain.
enjoy
I like seeing you in
me
pain.
upset. Cardinals just gave
Justin
up.
Brule comes to the mountain. What? Keep Graceffo out there, am I right, guys?
another guy I'm ready to move on from, but I've been ready to move on for a while.
You
Brule's had
liked
some good
Brule
moments
yesterday.
lately.
You were like, oh, I see you, Brule.
Yeah, but it didn't feel real.
His stuff has been better lately. Let's be fair.
He doesn't give up hard contact, though, right, PK?
Well, generally.
And it's Davis, who's not a very good hitter at all.
He's a really bad hitter.
Well,
yeah.
There's probably a Pajes call on the pitch that made it worse.
He is a righty, though, so, righty against a lefty, that's a bad matchup for him.
So why'd we pull Brule?
Yeah, why'd you pull Graceffo?
Or Graceffo,
I would assume because it's now a 4-1 game. You
don't want to keep it close? We just said that they'll pull you got them right where we want them.
Listen, man, I don't know. They decided to do it. What do you want me to say?
You make a lot of excuses, like saying Libby struggled because it was hot out. Now I just don't know what the excuses are on this one. It's a 4-1 game. They win 3-game
Don't
deficits.
hold your team to a high standard in an all-win season.
You
You're
said they're
just
not going to make the
unbelievable.
playoffs. You know what you are? You're a
Drink all
fraud.
the time.
That's what you are. You're a fraud.
Yeah, you're a Royals fan.
Yeah. And you like teams that win 7 games because you had fun.
How's your Royals doing?
Not well. Redbird Report coming up in just a little bit. Check it out on the
Hold them
YouTube
accountable,
page.
T-Bone.
We will talk to you tomorrow at 11 a.m. For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. The Fast Lane is next here on 101 ESPN. Stupid people just bother me. Man.
Whoa!